And remember, before I take you through the highlights in the order of business this afternoon, allow me to inform you this, our dear viewers, is that such recaps will be coming to you every other Tuesday. So stay tuned for such and more information, as well as comprehensive packages from the House. This afternoon, the House will be considering the Manx Bill, this being a bill from the Senate Bills number 13 of the year 2022 by Honorable Paul Zengu, who happens to be the co-sponsor of this bill that is being considered at the National Assembly as well as at the Senate. Enhancing of reporting on matters parliamentary business on online platforms is another motion lined up for debate this afternoon. This motion is by the chairperson, Matters Parliamentary Broadcasting and Library, that the House adopts the report of the Select Committee on Parliamentary Broadcasting and Library on enhancing reporting of parliamentary business on online platforms. The move of the motion on the report of the Consolidated Fund Services expenditures for the supplementary estimates for the financial year 2024-2025 is set to reply on this motion. This is the chairperson, Matters Public Debt and Privatization Committee. And away from that, the public petition on funds spent contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution by the chairperson, Public Petitions Committee, is also set to be debated this afternoon, with the mover called upon to reply upon the lapse of the time allocated for debate. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 24. It is National Assembly Bills number 11 of the year 2024, rather, by the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party. This is a bill at the second stage, or popularly known as the second reading at the House. And members of the National Assembly will be debating that bill on Ethics and Anti-Corruption Amendment Bill. The members of the National Assembly are streaming into the chamber this afternoon to allow the House commence business at exactly 2:30, which is the appointed time for the House to commence business. And pursuant to Standing Orders number 44, subsection 2C, a couple of members of the National Assembly will be seeking statements this afternoon. Member for Teso North, Honorable Oku Kaunya, will be seeking statements in regards to the delayed delivery of modern training equipment to Chamasiri Technical and Vocational Training. This is a statement that will be sought and handled by the Departmental Committee on Matters Education. Member for Kilifi North, Honorable Owen Bayer, has a statement in regards to the implementation of nuclear power plant project at Oyombo village in Kilifi County. And this is also in Kilifi North constituency, that will be handled by the Departmental Committee on Matters Energy. Renewal of standardization mark for the Kenya Bureau of Standards is a motion set to be a statement so to be sought this afternoon by Honorable John Kiarie, who is a member for Dagoretti South. The statement that is being sought this afternoon in regards to the renewal of standardization mark from KEBS will be handled by the Committee on Matters Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. This afternoon, we'll be expecting the Committee on Matters Administration and Internal Security to respond to a statement that was sought by Honorable Eden Kainan, the member for Eldas. The statement was in regards to the disappearance of Honorable Yusuf Hussein, the MCA for Delaware. This, I want to believe, is in Wajir County. At any moment now, we'll be expecting the Speaker's procession to make its way to the chamber this afternoon for the commencement of business. And as we await for that, there is a motion on the alleged unfair trade practices by foreign investors in Kenya that is lined up for debate this afternoon. This motion is by the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Matters Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. The committee, through its chairperson, seeks to have the House adopt the report of the Departmental Committee on Matters Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on the inquiry into the alleged unfair practices by foreign investors in Kenya. And the committee already laid its report on the table of the House on the 7th of March this year. The second report of the Employment Diversity Audit in Public Institutions is another motion lined up for debate this afternoon. This motion is by the Committee on Matters National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities. The committee laid its report on the table of the House on the 21st of March this year. The Speaker carrying the mace, followed by the Sergeant at Arms carrying the mace, followed by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Wetangula, already into the chamber this afternoon, signaling that the business of the House is just about to commence. Allow me, our dear viewers, to now hand you over for this live broadcast brought to you by KBC, and this is also in partnership with the Parliamentary Business.
Mheshimiwa, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umeteua na nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu. Tukusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tukuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote tutakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako siendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. We have quorum. Clerk, we have quorum. Proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. 1. The following legal notices from the Water Resources Authority. A. Legal notice number 139 of 2024 relating to the Makamatargui Wetlands Catchment Protection Order 2024. B. Legal notice number 141 of 2024 relating to the Fafi Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. C. Legal notice number 142 of 2024 relating to the Pui Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. Legal notice number 143 relating to the Mereroni Mbaruk Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. E. Legal notice number 144 of 2024 relating to the Siani Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. and legal notice number 145 of 2024 relating to the Kibirong Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. 2, implementation status of the Special Funds Accounts Committee report for the financial year 2018, 2020, 2019, 2021, 2022 from the National Treasury and Economic Planning. 3, reports of the Auditor General and financial statements of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, NG-CDF, for the year ended 30th June 2023 and certificates therein in respect of the following constituencies: Dagoretti South, Gatundu North, Kibra, Limuru, Roysambo, and Starehe. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay. I thank you.
Thank you, Owen. Papers under Roman 1 are referred to the Committee on Delegated Legislation, and paper under Roman 2 is referred to the Committee on Implementation. Chairperson, Select Committee on National Government Constituencies Development Fund, NG-CDF. Musa Sirma. Majority Leader, where is the chairman of NG-CDF?
I thought I saw Musa sitting somewhere here. I must have seen you.
Did you see him or you saw the likeness of him?
I saw his figure around.
Yes, Clive?
Speaker, I'm a member of the committee, and he said he'll be here in 1 minute.
Pardon?
He's coming in 1 minute. I'm a member of that committee.
Okay, let's go to the next order. Honorable members, as you may be aware, the NG-CDF was once again crucified for all the wrong reasons, and the case we have been having in court at a judgment on Friday, which judgment I'm sure you have all read. So after putting questions at order number 8 and 9, I've been requested by the leadership to allow you 1 hour to ventilate on the matter. There he comes. And in addition to that, there is a committee of lawyers in the House led by Senior Counsel Otienda Molo, Murugara, Osoro, Makali, and all the others, Mutuse, Wakili Moreu, Kaluma, Kajwang, who have been giving pro bono services to the House on this matter. I have invited them to a meeting tomorrow at 11 in the Speaker's boardroom, and I've invited your leaders, the majority and minority leaders, to join in so that they can brainstorm and see what remedial actions to take. Thereafter, sometime next week, I'll avail you a Kamkunji to ventilate on the matter, and I want to tell the gracious lady members of constituency, county constituencies, that ukiona cha mwenzako kinanyolewa, chako okay, we'll go back to Musa Sirma.
Apologies, Mr. Speaker, as I was collecting the document for coming late. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 24th of September 2024. Report of the Select Committee on National Government Constituency Development Fund on its consideration of the proposed budget ceiling for the constituencies for the financial year 2024-2025. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Let me confirm.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, let me give information to members. Today, the 24th of September, Mr. Speaker, I and the chairman of the Education Committee visited our able CS for Treasury, and he did a great job to us today. We managed to be, they released 7.8 billion shillings for the Constituency Development Fund, so the arrears is only 5.7. Mr. Speaker, we know it is late, but of course the situations are also very difficult. Mr. Speaker, this money is 3.4 billion from the Ministry of Education, which had been put on CDF, and the matching fund of 3.4 billion together comes to 7.8. And the members of the Nairobi, 1 billion shillings which had been given, Mr. Speaker, has been released. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Oku Kaunya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Sir Speaker, Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Education regarding the delayed delivery of the modern equipment for Chamasiri Technical and Vocational College. Honorable Speaker, Chamasiri Technical and Vocational College was established in September 2019 with the aim of providing quality technical and vocational education. Currently, the institution has an enrollment of 1,700 students, demonstrating its importance in the education sector. On 10th December 2021, the Cabinet Secretary for Education, while on a visit of the Chamasiri TVC, conveyed the government's plan to provide modern training equipment that are through the funding of African Development Bank. However, despite this promise, the equipment was never delivered, and reports indicate that it was redirected to another technical institution. This matter was raised again in November 2023 during a visit by the then Cabinet Secretary for Education, Honorable Dr. Ezekiel Machogu, to the institution, who reassured the institution that the equipment would be delivered by March 2024. Indeed, the equipment arrived in the country in March this year. However, months later, it is yet to be delivered to the Chamasiri TVC. Honorable Speaker, the matter has persisted for 3 years and continues to pose significant challenges to the institutions and its students. The continued lack of practical equipment has severely impacted the quality of education, as students are forced to rely solely on theoretical instruction without the necessary tools for handling the learners. This situation not only defeats the entire essence of technical and vocational colleges, but also jeopardizes the skills development and future prospects of these students. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson, the Departmental Committee on Education, on the following. 1. reasons why the equipment funded by the African Development Bank, which was initially intended for Chamasiri TVC, was diverted to another institution in another constituency. Number 2, reasons for the delay in delivering the newly received equipment to Chamasiri TVC, despite being received several months ago. Number 3, specific timelines for delivery of this equipment to Chamasiri TVC, including measures to avert further delays in this matter. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chair, Committee of Education. Where is Melly? Yes, 2 weeks, Honorable Maluli Njendi.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we'll invite the CS to our committee, but I also want to alert the member that we usually invite also members when the CS is making a presentation, so that the member can also get information from the CS directly during the committee sitting. Thank you.
Thank you. Owen Bayer.
Request for statement regarding the implementation of a nuclear power plant project at Uyombo, Kilifi North Constituency. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44.2c, I rise to request for a statement from the chairpersons of the departmental committees on energy and environment, forestry and mining regarding the implementation of a nuclear power plant project in Uyombo Village, Masangoni Ward, Kilifi North Constituency. Honorable Speaker, the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, NUPEA, is a state corporation established under the Energy Act 2019 with a mandate to promote and implement Kenya's nuclear power programs, including carrying out research, development, and capacity building in the energy sector. NUPEA recently initiated the process of implementing a nuclear power plant project in Uyombo, Masangoni Ward, Kilifi North Constituency, and put up a mast at the location. Honorable Speaker, the production of nuclear energy is a delicate and dangerous process that threatens the existence of people in its surroundings. Further, the people of Uyombo have rejected the implementation of a power plant project due to risks that will negatively affect their lives and generations to come. This project poses significant risks such as radioactive reactions and leaks, nuclear waste disposal, permanent destruction of the ecosystem, and lack of capacity to handle accidents. Moreover, it will impact their fishing activities and the tourism industry at large. Honorable Speaker, Article 10, as read together with Article 69 of the Constitution, prohibits implementation of any public project without public participation. While NUPEA partially complied with this provision, concerns have been raised to the way the exercise was conducted. The public participation was marred by use of excessive force, discrimination against the people of Uyombo, harassment and unlawful arrests of locals who are apparently being coerced to accept the implementation of the project on their land. Honorable Speaker, Article 43 of the Constitution also entitles individuals whose land is compulsorily acquired by the government to receive certain compensation. Notably, the nuclear power plant project is being implemented on land belonging to individuals, persons who possess legal ownership documents of the land and face the risk of being relocated from their land. Regrettably, implementation of the project without compliance to the law and adherence to the directives and guidelines has deprived the people of Uyombo of their rights in accordance to Article 42 as read together with Article 70 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, although the project has been proposed to be implemented only in Uyombo, Masangoni Ward, Kilifi North Constituency, there is a real existential threat to the whole country in the unfortunate event of a disaster. Many countries have discouraged nuclear energy production and refrained from it due to its dangerous impacts. African countries, including Kenya, have yet to demonstrate their ability to handle nuclear disaster, making Uyombo nuclear project a big risk. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Energy and Environment, Forestry and Mining on the following. Could the committee jointly conduct an inquiry to establish whether there is a breach of constitutional provisions, and if so, provide a detailed report with recommendation on the implementation of the project to ensure proper processes are followed for the safety of the community? 2, clarify whether public participation was conducted within the parameters of the law, considering that the majority views which rejected implementation of such a project were ignored. 3, provide details of the environmental assessment report of the project. 4, also inquire into the arbitrary arrests and use of excessive force on the people of Uyombo in apparent bid to force them to accept the project. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, clarify whether Kenya is prepared to handle a nuclear disaster, and if so, provide the policy measures put in place to handle such disasters. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Chairman of Energy, Kawaya. Any member of the committee? Yes, 2 weeks. Bring a statement in 2 weeks. Thank you. John Carrier, member for Dagoretti South.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to request a statement regarding the renewal of standardization mark from the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives regarding the renewal of the standardization mark from the Kenya Bureau of Standards, also known as KEBS. Honorable Speaker, in 2023, KEBS revised the standardization mark SM permit, extending the validity period from 1 year to 2 years. This change raised concern among businesses, particularly small and medium enterprises, SMEs, as an annual renewal period aligns better with their financial planning, operational cycles, and ensures product quality and safety in a rapidly evolving business environment. Moreover, questions have arisen about the alignment of this 2-year cycle to KEB's mandate of supporting fair competition in the country. Honorable Speaker, it is also deeply concerning that companies restarting operations after COVID-19 related shutdowns are facing back pay penalties by KEBS. These penalties impose a significant financial burden on businesses already struggling to recover from economic hardships. Such measures hinder rather than support job creation and economic recovery, which are crucial for the growth of the nation. Instructively, the regulatory environment should support businesses, especially SMEs, in their efforts to create jobs and to contribute to economic development. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on the following. 1. The rationale behind extending the validity period of the standardization mark and the impact of these on product quality and the fair competition, especially for SMEs. Number 2, justification for imposing back pay penalties on businesses restarting after COVID-19 related shutdowns. And 3, Mr. Speaker, the measures that the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry is taking to ensure the regulatory environment supports SMEs in economic recovery rather than penalizing these businesses that are recovering from the COVID-19 shutdown. Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I signed this statement on the 13th of August 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, KJ. Chair Trade, Kakuya. Vice Chair.
Chair, you can give us 3 weeks.
How many?
3 weeks.
standard time is 2 weeks. Why do you want 3?
We are requesting for 3 weeks because we know we have the bill on cooperatives that we need to finish.
Okay.
So because of
3
that, we're
weeks.
requesting 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Thank you.
Response to a statement by Adan Kainan, right? Yes. Tongoyo, are you ready to respond to the statement of Honorable Kainan?
Yes, I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Member of Parliament for Eldas constituency, Honorable Adan Kainan, has requested for a statement regarding the disappearance of the Member of Assembly for Dela Ward, Honorable Yusuf Hussein. And in particular, he wanted specifically circumstances under which Honorable Hussein was abducted and the status of investigation into his mysterious disappearance, which was reported at Makadara police station. And of course, the step that the relevant government security agencies have taken to ensure that the missing MCA is expeditiously traced and reunited with these people, and the security measures that the government has taken to guarantee safety of all leaders in order to protect them from potential incidents of kidnapping and other form of violence. Honorable Speaker, I want to state as follows. On 13 September 2024, at around 2140, Wambua Kioko reported through a phone call via OPIN number 8613, September 2024, the abduction of his passenger. The reportee is an Uber driver and a resident of Embakasi, stated that while within South Sea, Halala Estate, he received an online request from the customer to be dropped at Pangani Heights Estate. However, along Lusaka Road.
Yes, Honorable Kamket, what is out of order? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the matter the Honorable Chair is responding to is very serious. It involves an elected member. And the decibels of consultations are too high for us to listen, to hear what the Honorable Chair is saying.
Okay. Order, members. Those who are consulting, do so in lower tones. Tongoyo, endelea.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. So I just want to pick from where I left. On 13th, on 2024, that around 2140, Wambua Kioko reported through a phone call via OBIN number 8613 of September 2024, the abduction of his passenger. The reportee, Honorable Speaker, is an Uber driver and a resident of Embakasi, stated that while within South Sea, Halala Estate, he received an online request from a customer to be dropped at Pangani Heights. However, along Lusaka Road, past Lusaka Enterprise roundabout and near Ola petrol station, a black Prado motor vehicle whose registration number was not captured blocked them. 3 men who had masked their faces alighted from the said Prado and opened the passenger door of the taxi, where the passenger was seated. They grabbed and pulled him out of the car before dragged him to their Prado. The passenger dropped his mobile phone and make iPhone 13 inside the Uber during the commotion. The abductors further robbed the Uber driver of his telephone number, a Samsung Galaxy A025 make, valued at around 14,000 and a cash amounting to 250, before speeding off with the victim. The scene was visited and it was established that the abductee is the Honorable Yusuf Hussein Ahmed, the MCA for Dala and Nole Ward, Elder constituency in Wajir County. Honorable Speaker, the case is still under investigation and the search is still ongoing at the time of writing this response. On the third question, Honorable Speaker, the following measures has been taken to ensure the security. The National Police Service has made as the mandate of providing security to all Kenyans in all parts of this country, and the police officers are therefore continuously sensitizing on upholding the rule of law and constitutionalism. And any leader who is intimidated or harassed is encouraged to report to the nearest police station, and investigation will be commenced without delay. Creating awareness to all members of the public to report any suspicious character within their location, and the intensifying both mobile and foot patrol. And the adoption of multi-agency approach in collection of intelligence and the heightening of security surveillance. So, Honorable Speaker, you know this matter was brought last week before you, and we also share the concern of Kenan and other members from that region that truly this is a very sensitive matter because it concerns the elected leader, and the police are still searching the MCA, and we want to ensure Kenyans and this House that the culprits will be brought to the books, and we are going to do anything within humanly possible to able to bring this person, the missing MCA. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you have had on 13th September this month, an elected leader from my constituency, from one of the wards, was abducted. That is 14 days ago. Mr. Speaker, one of the platforms this regime used when they were campaigning was that there will be no abductions, there will be no illegal confinement, and there will be no extrajudicial killings. Mr. Speaker, the statement issued by the chairman, and I must admit that it's just a conveyor belt, lacks substance completely, and it does not allude to the circumstances of the missing leader. Mr. Speaker, here is a situation. You know, everywhere in Nairobi right now there are CCTVs. Everywhere in Nairobi there are CCTVs, Mr. Speaker. Is an elected leader. The road, the Enterprise Road, just next to where this particular leader was abducted, has so many CCTVs, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, by now, those who are in charge of this particular sector know the identities of the tormentors of this particular MCA. They know the details of the cars. They know everything, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, while it is the right of every Kenyan to enjoy the right to be had, the right to be tried fairly, this era of illegal confinement, Mr. Speaker, and abduction is something that has never been anticipated in the current constitution, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, this answer, as it is right now, has not said anything, has not shed any light. He only said we are investigating. 14 days, Mr. Speaker, since an elected leader has, of course, every Kenyan has a right to security, but here is an elected leader, Mr. Speaker. He is still missing. Mr. Speaker, I want to also table, Mr. Speaker, just for the information, that on 6 August, this particular leader was summoned by the County Security and Intelligence Committee of Wajir, Mr. Speaker, and this is what the letter says. The Honorable Yusuf Hussein, MCA, Anole Delaware, the telephone, meeting with the County Security Committee of Wajir. You are told you are requested to, I've just learned this, Mr. Speaker, and this is what the letter says. You are requested to attend a meeting on Thursday, 8 August 2024, at the County Commissioner's Office, Wajir, at 10 a.m. The County Security and Intelligence Committee...
Kenan, you seem to be reading from a faded copy of a letter.
It's a copy, Mr. Speaker. It's an official letter. I'll give it to you. I'll hand over. You can counter-check. It's official.
Okay.
And I'm too old, Mr. Speaker, to bring anything that is not properly validated. Mr. Speaker, the County Security and Intelligence Committee wishes to discuss with you issues touching on the security within Dela and Nollywood. I want to table this document, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, taking this into account, this is a lead document. Meaning, therefore, there must have been some issues between that particular MCA and the County Security Committee. If that has been escalated to the national level,
We are not saying he has committed crime or he has not committed crime, Mr. Speaker. But if truly this person who has been missing, why don't you produce him and take him to court? And therefore, Mr. Speaker, this answer, and I empathize with my good friend Gabriel, you have not said anything. They have not given you anything. In fact, they are setting you up. This answer has not said anything at all, on the way up out of that particular leader. And therefore, Mr. Speaker...
Pass on the letter to him. You have made the point. Bashir? Major Bashir, give him the mic. 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I listened to the response by the minister concerned through the chair, and I can attest to the fact that that response is very, very shallow. Honorable Speaker, the individual abducted is an elected MCA, and it's not a coincidence that on the 8th of September, he was summoned by the County Security Committee, and on 13th, he disappeared. And I think the era of abductions is something that is still with us, unfortunately. So we call upon the government, especially the security agencies, to immediately and urgently find where the MCA is. The family is agonizing. They don't know what to say. And the worst part is that the National Police Service has not even come to address this matter and even talking to the families concerned to tell them what they're doing about it. We want them to do what they are supposed to do, to protect lives and properties of Kenyans. And we ask them to tell us where this elected MCA is at this point in time. It's now 2 weeks since his abduction. And there are CCTV cameras in the whole of this country, especially in Nairobi. How come they are unable to know who abducted the MCA? The Uber that he has used has recorded a statement. They can see it. He knows. However, the CCTV cameras cannot be traced. It's unfortunate also. So we ask that statement is not...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have listened to the response of the chairman of the committee I belong to. It's not sufficient, Mr. Speaker. It's 14 days since the honorable member was abducted. It's very unfortunate, sad to the people who elected him, to the people, to the county he comes from, Mr. Speaker. We are unable to stay our homes. We are unable to do our day-to-day activities because of this honorable member who is missing. All indications are there, Mr. Speaker, to show that this indeed honorable member is taken by the people we suspect. We demand the security agencies, Mr. Speaker, to bring back our honorable member, to bring back the honorable member for Anole Dela Ward, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we don't know how we are going to go back to our constituency and county if this honorable member is not brought back to his people. It's on that note that I'm asking my chair, the committee that I belong to, Mr. Chair, it's a matter of urgency that we bring back our son, our leader. If today a honorable member is missing, then it doesn't make any sense. Anyone can miss any time, any day, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yes, Tongoyo.
Honorable Speaker, first of all, I think I did actually indicate that I really feel the frustration from the members from the said county.
Have you seen the letter whose copy?
I haven't, and I think as it should be treated, not to be as it is for now, Honorable Speaker, the stability of the letter is in question. Maybe we need your guidance. But having said this, Mr. Speaker, we all know such situations, investigation could be complex. And the members already alluding or making a suggestion that it is the officer, the MCA was abducted by the security agency, which cannot be substantiated either. So I would rather we leave it open. The investigation is ongoing, but we should not conclude that he was abducted by the security agency. That is an assumption. Mr. Speaker.
What you do, Honorable Tongoyo, that letter, that no soliciting, that letter has a telephone number, and on the face of it, the signatory is a DC, or you call them what? Is a county commissioner rather. So get the letter after authentication by the clerk, then get to your team at internal security and bring back additional information on this on Thursday afternoon. Yes.
Thank you so much for that guidance, Mr. Speaker. I want to confirm, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
I want to confirm beyond reasonable doubt that that letter comes from the County Security Committee, and therefore here it is. Mr. Speaker, I also want to table an affirmation by one great Kenyan taxi driver called Wambua Kioko. Is also an affirmation, and the oath. I also want to table it because the content is also very clear, so that as the chairman responds to this.
Okay, Nan, the taxi driver's testimony is not disputed. Tongoya said...
I want to give him the whole detail, Mr. Speaker, the whole affirmation,
Yes.
the whole, so that, for the benefit, so that he benefits also from this. But Mr.
Okay.
Speaker, finally allow me to say this. You have been around. You have gone through the ladder. You have served the three arms, actually, let me say, almost the three arms of government. You know what it is.
Not almost, I have.
You have served the three arms of government, and you know what it takes. Mr. Speaker, no amount, and I want to Togoyo and other groups to hear this, no amount of blackmail, no amount of intimidation, no amount of whatever somebody wants to do will allow us to forget the existence of Honorable Yusuf Hussein. Those who are holding him, I want them to hear where I am. I want them to hear what I'm saying. We will not allow you to get away with that crime. Produce Honorable Yusuf in court.
Yes.
That is what the due process demands.
We will not allow.
Produce him to court. Produce him in court. Deal with him in court. But hold him in, Mr. Speaker. We will not allow it. That is not the modern day Kenya.
Give the papers to the clerks. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge the following schools in the gallery. Kalulini Comprehensive School from Kibwezi West, Makueni. Oak Tree Primary School from Mavoko, Machakos. Timau AI PCA Mother Council from Buri, Meru. Kamwiru Boys Secondary School, Kirinyaga Central, Kirinyaga. Honorable Kaimenyi, Women Leader Meru, has asked me to acknowledge the Mother Council from Timau. You can do so in 1 minute and welcome the rest of the schools on our behalf. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes.
I really want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to welcome the Mother Council from African Independent Pentecostal Church of East Africa, of which I belong. They are from Timau in Bori constituency. I also wish to thank them for the forward-looking. As you can see, Mr. Speaker, these are ladies, young ladies, and I want to congratulate them for their efforts, showing leadership even as they are ladies. Sometimes we think the reverse gender is more forward-looking, but you can see they are just ladies from Mother Council. Mother Council is the leadership of that church. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to thank also the students who are here with us and acknowledge them for wanting to have more knowledge even regarding these parliaments. So please feel welcome, and thank you again, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on Thursday, 19th September 2024, on my behalf, the Chair of the Health Committee, Honorable Pukose, issued a statement the usual Thursday statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, which met on Tuesday, 17 September 2024, to prioritize business for consideration during the week. Honourable Speaker, it was indicated to the House that the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry would appear before the House to answer questions tomorrow, Wednesday, 25th September 2024. However, I am in receipt of a letter from the Cabinet Secretary stating that he is out of the country on official duties. He is accompanying His Excellency the President to the Republic of Kenya to the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA 79 in New York. Honourable Speaker, following further consultations, we have scheduled the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports to respond to questions that touch on the following thematic areas. A, state of preparedness of key sporting facilities to host international events. 2, 1, appraise on the state of preparedness of the country in terms of infrastructure facilities and other logistics to successfully host international sporting events, more specifically the planned hosting of the African Nations Championship, CHAN, and the Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON. 2, state the current condition of key sports facilities in the country, including their maintenance, modernization, and suitability for hosting international events. And 3, provide specific measures on strategies put in place by the ministry to accelerate the completion of the stalled or incomplete stadiums across the country. B is facilitation of national sports teams, to state the measures in place to ensure timely preparation, coordination, management, and facilitation of sports teams to represent the country in various sporting disciplines. And C, Honourable Speaker, is a mandate of the Kenya Academy of Sports to 1, appraise on the challenges facing the Kenya Academy of Sports in the development of grassroots talent in the country and the measures to address the challenges. And 2, outline the number of sports academies that have been set up nationwide, including details of their effectiveness at the grassroots level and whether there are strategies in place to ensure their continuity. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Next order.
Order number 8, the Mark Beans Bill, Senate Bill number 13 of 2022, second reading, question to be put.
Order, members on their feet, take your seats. Members on their feet, Busia Women Rep, take your seat. Honourable members, now I put the question at the order number 8, which is that the Mang Beans Bill, Senate Bill number 13 of 2022, be now read a second time. As members of that opinion say aye. As members of the contrary opinion say nay. Nay. The nays have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, enhancing reporting of parliamentary business on online platforms. Question to be put.
Order, members on their feet, take your seats again. Take your seats. Honourable Naisula and the member for Bumola, take your seats. Honourable Ruku, take your seat. Honourable members, I now put the question at order number 9, which is that this House adopts the report of the Select Committee on Parliamentary Broadcasting and Library on enhancing reporting of parliamentary business on online platforms, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 4th October 2023. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honourable members, I had promised you that I will allow you 1 hour to ventilate on the issue of NG-CDF, and I will invite your leaders, starting with the majority leader on NG-CDF judgment, and then followed by the minority leader. If we can give them 5 minutes each, then the rest of the members, you can take 2 minutes each. Is that okay? If we say 5 and you have 1 hour, very few will speak. So let's do 3. Kimani Chungwa, you can go with 5 minutes. Junet, be ready with 5 minutes. Then the rest will do 3-3-3.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, there has been a misconception that NG-CDF is a fund that belongs to members of Parliament. And indeed, Honorable Speaker, for those who have taken time, and I'm sure many of us have have read the judgment that was pronounced by the courts, there is also that misconception within the courts that NG-CDF is a fund as it were before 2015, where MPs are still patrons of this fund, and far from it, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when I read that judgment, I could not help myself but clearly see that this was more of a political judgment than a legal judgment, Honorable Speaker. The politics in that judgment, Honorable Speaker, speaks volumes. Honorable Speaker, I am not a lawyer, but interpretation of the law is just as simple as reading plain English. With all due respect to the lawyers in this House and seasoned ones like yourself, Honorable Speaker, who has also sat as on the bench. Honorable Speaker, when the judges pronounce themselves on matters touching on CDF and claim that there is duplication of functions between NG-CDF and the county governments, Honorable Speaker, that is a language spoken by the Council of Governors, Honorable Speaker. And we should not lie to ourselves that the judges are simply saying what the Council of Governors has been saying. Honorable Speaker, when we recrafted the NG-CDF Act from the old CDF Act, the NG-CDF Act was very particular that NG-CDF will only serve 2 particular functions, that of education, excluding the early childhood education, ECDE, that is a function that belongs to counties. And there is not a single constituency, Honorable Speaker, that I know of where NG-CDF money is utilized either to construct or to take care of ECD classrooms in our primary schools, Honorable Speaker. The other function of NG-CDF touched on security, and there is absolutely nothing in the county government architecture and the functions under Schedule 4 of our Constitution where county governments deal with matters security. It is NG-CDF that has helped even in areas where banditry and even acts of terrorism, like in Lamu and other areas, Honorable Speaker, and parts of northern Kenya. It is through NG-CDF intervention to establish police posts and police stations, Honorable Speaker, that we have helped the national government in dealing with matters in security. The county governments, even in those very dangerous areas, go to the North Rift, go to northeastern Kenya, there is not a single county government involved in security work, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, because I see my time is over, I just want to plead to our judiciary, Honorable Speaker, that you have no reason as judges to seem popular with governors. Honorable Speaker, because that judgment is just a popularity contest judgment for judges who pronounce themselves, Honorable Speaker, on that matter of NG-CDF. But may it be known to them that without NG-CDF, there are children in this country who will never access education from the bursaries they get from NG-CDF, Honorable Speaker. There are children in this country, Honorable Speaker, who years ago, without CDF, were studying under trees without classrooms. Honorable Speaker, with the recent floods, many of our schools had either classrooms or even Honorable Speaker, I was saying with the last floods, either classrooms or ablution blocks that were swept away by floods. Without the intervention of NG-CDF, Honorable Speaker, their children would not be in school today, Honorable Speaker. I know we have another chance with the Court of Appeal and all the way to the Supreme Court, Honorable Speaker. And we also have a chance to correct what we need to correct from this House because we are the law-making House. If we have to recraft another NG-CDF Act, let us do it, Honorable Speaker. If we have to anchor NG-CDF, as we proposed under the NADCO bills, in the Constitution, it is high time we now anchor NG-CDF, not for the sake of members of Parliament, but for the sake of the people we represent. Those people who have no voice if we don't speak to them. Those people who judges cannot hear unless we speak to the judges. Let us ask our judges to drop the politics, leave NG-CDF alone, and allow the children of Kenya to access education, allow the people of the North Rift, allow those who are terrorized by terrorists to live in a country where they are secure.
Junet.
Mr. Speaker, I can't agree more, Mr. Speaker, with the majority leader that this is a political judgment, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is no act of parliament that has been subjected to litigation more than the CDF Act, Mr. Speaker. And this is done basically by people who hate members of parliament. They are not doing it for anything else other than hatred that they have for members of parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when I read the judgment of Mr. Speaker of the court, I was shocked, Mr. Speaker, because in 2013, the same act was subjected to litigation, Mr. Speaker, and at that time they were saying that Parliament is dividing the revenue into three: national government revenue, county government revenue, and the CDF, Mr. Speaker. Subsequently, this House did an amendment and did the division of revenue, where the money was divided between the county governments and the national government, and the CDF was put under the national government, Mr. Speaker. There is no difference between a ministry that is getting an allocation from the national budget of the national government than the CDF, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was shocked to see in the judgment of the court that one of the reasons why they are saying this act is unconstitutional is because Parliament passes 7 names of members of the CDF committee, Mr. Speaker. How many names do we pass here? We pass even names of commissions, we pass names of county secretary, we pass names here, PSS, AG, we pass here even commissioner of what this is called, commissioner communication authority, Mr. Speaker. What is the problem of passing names here? The other thing that has shocked me about this judgment, Mr. Speaker, is that they are saying the term of the fund manager is for 5 years, which is equivalent to 5 years of being a member of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. There are fund managers who have been in office for the last 20 years, Mr. Speaker. I don't know where the judges were reading, what they were reading, Mr. Speaker, whether they read the submissions of our lawyers, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am shocked because the judges behaved as though they live in another country, Mr. Speaker. Recently, there was a burial in my constituency, and I must say this, of a judge, Mr. Speaker. And the funeral was conducted in a primary school, and those classes were built by CDF, Mr. Speaker. They were not built by county government or built by anybody else. Mr. Speaker, the way the CDF has changed the lives of Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, every person knows in this country, including judges. Do they not go home? Do they not come from villages in this country, Mr. Speaker? And people, I'm asking the judges on the floor of this House, from the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker. In my constituency alone, there are over 3,000 to 4,000 students who benefit from bursary. Children of single mothers, orphans, Mr. Speaker. Where do they expect us to take those children, Mr. Speaker? If CDF is scrapped, the best thing I can do is to put those children in a bus and bring them to the homes of the judges, Mr. Speaker, so they can give them fees, so that those children can go back to school, Mr. Speaker. You can't make the lives of Kenyans miserable by just doing a judgment that does not make any sense, Mr. Speaker, according to me. And we are allowed to critique judgment, Mr. Speaker. They had their say, we must have our say here on this floor, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have been a believer, I have been a supporter of the independence of the judiciary, Mr. Speaker. But now I've come to believe that judiciary now is living in an ivory tower, and they must come down from that ivory tower, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the problem in this country about the three arms of government, the other two arms of government, the executive and the legislature, are subjected to accountability through elections after every 5 years. Judges are never accountable to anyone. They are accountable to themselves and to JSC, where a majority of the members are judges, Mr. Speaker. And you just wait until you reach 70 or 74 years and you retire. You are not accountable to anybody. How do you want to make the lives of Kenyans so miserable by saying that CDF is not doing anything? Mr. Speaker, CDF is unconstitutional. This is a judgment that has been procured by the Council of Governors, Mr. Speaker. And it is out of egos. They don't want any other money. They don't want any other money to come to the constituencies or to the villages, Mr. Speaker. And what is happening in devolution, you know, all of us and everybody in this country knows. Corruption, pilferage, lethargy, incompetence. The only money, Mr. Speaker, that has touched the lives of Kenyans for the last 20 years is the CDF, Mr. Speaker. And I want to tell the One minute. Mr. Speaker, the name of the fund is NG-CDF, National Government, Mr. Speaker. It's not county government, it's not judiciary fund, it's not parliamentary fund, it's not anybody's fund. It's the national government money that is going to the constituencies so that it can build schools, it can build classes, it can build police station, and they're saying there's duplication of functions. We don't do anything outside what the national government is doing. Security and education are not devolved functions, Mr. Speaker. Counties don't do that. Will education improve if today's CDF is abolished? Mr. Speaker, we are going to appeal this judgment, but we will also do a constitutional amendment. We have the powers even to amend the constitution. The judiciary doesn't have. You can declare the act unconstitutional as many times as you like, but we will make sure CDF remains in this country, Mr. Speaker. I submit.
Yes, Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was privileged to be a member of parliament before CDF came into being. I was privileged also to see Engineer Karue apply his creative mind, Mr. Speaker, and come up with this unique development initiative, Mr. Speaker. And I've seen what CDF has done. I have represented two constituencies, Mr. Speaker. The number of development projects initiated in my former constituency called Wajir West and my current constituency called Eldas, Mr. Speaker, through CDF is more than the combined development initiative since we got independence, Mr. Speaker. In our place, we say CDF is our government. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask myself, the framers of the current constitution, if you read Article 1, sovereignty has been equated to representation. Who are these busybodies who want to disregard representation, Mr. Speaker, and rubbish the role of the elected members of parliament, Mr. Speaker? I have one message for you. We have seen the actions, the inactions, the activities, the inadvertence of these busybodies, whoever they are. Can you stand firm? Can you stand firm as members of parliament? It's not about the usual complaining, no. Can you stand firm, bring a constitutional amendment so that we entrench the NG-CDF in the constitution so that we remove it from the ambit of this gullible and vulnerable busybody, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, for how long shall we deny Kenyans the right to enjoy a piece of the national cake, Mr. Speaker? I'm shocked and dismayed, Mr. Speaker, to see a ruling, and ideally, Mr. Speaker, the role of the three arms of government, Mr. Speaker, is interdependent, is to support each other for the good of the well-being of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. But when you have a targeted approach, Mr. Speaker, to rubbish one arm, then doesn't add value. Mr. Speaker, finally, what I want to say is this. When the members of parliament are elected here, or the framers of the current constitution, Mr. Speaker, some of the functions have been devolved. After this, you will hear provisional administration is illegal because NCDF only covers education and national security. Are those two functions, Mr. Speaker, county functions? They are not county functions. These are national functions. So, colleagues, if you want to remain relevant, I know it's not the ambit of the members of parliament because we have delinked NCDF from the member of parliament. It's completely an independent entity. That still is being pushed to the member of parliament. I beg you, If you want to remain relevant, if you want your constituency to develop, stand firm, wake up tomorrow, put your heads together, put this entity, entrench it in the constitution so that there is no room for any busybodies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Kadambi. Charity Kadambi.
No, see.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Allow me to contribute like my colleagues. In this country, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would wonder which Kenyan has not seen the changes which CDF has really brought in this country. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, my issue is to remind people that what CDF is doing in this country, I doubt if there is another fund which is doing what CDF is doing. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, with the changes, with the poor children we are taking to schools, with the schools we are changing, with the security offices we are constructing, with the administration offices we are doing, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am so much worried that there is people up to now, they have not seen what is happening. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I am contributing because myself being the second-term member of parliament in Joro constituency, what I have done in my constituency, Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the first term is what has brought me the second term. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I'm standing here to remind our colleagues, let us unite this journey. This is war against development. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is now the high time we united as members of parliament. We change even if it means changing the constitution so that we can make sure that the CDF is well anchored in the constitution. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have gotten a lot of challenge every time. Whichever time we are doing our works as members of parliament from single constituencies, actually we are not at peace because every time we are distracted by so many cases in the courts. And Mr. Speaker, sir, as I'm standing here today, Kenyans are asking, are they safe? Are their children going to go to schools? Are they expecting more constructions of schools when they have seen the challenge which has taken recently in the courts? Mr. Speaker, sir, let me confirm that Kenyans are worried that today there is a threat for the CDF. Therefore, for colleagues, please let us wake the 290 constituencies. Let us protect the development. Let us fight for our children. Let us fight for the development for this constituency through CDF. Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you very much. It is for us to unite and say no to whoever is against our development matters. Thank you.
Yes, Chairman CDF. I would have thought you should have been the last to speak on this. Oh, yes. You are the committee chair. Listen to others. You'll speak last. Naisula. Chairman, hold your horses. I've been seeing you menacing me with gestures.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to rise to also contribute on the judgment on NG-CDF, Mr. Speaker, and to say that we cannot overemphasize the importance of NG-CDF in our constituencies, Mr. Speaker. There is this notion among many people that NG-CDF is pocket change for members of parliament. I want to say without fear or favor that if there is one fund that there is accountability for, it is NG-CDF. NG-CDF goes to the constituency with an AIE, with what it is supposed to do, and the money follows that AIE. And so even when auditors come to the ground, Mr. Speaker, they have to go and see whether that classroom has been built. They have to go and see whether that police station has been built. They have to see whether that child has gotten bursary, and that is the truth on the ground, Mr. Speaker. And if there is anybody who thinks that there is a member of parliament who is misusing these monies, Mr. Speaker, we have investigative bodies, Mr. Speaker, which we should go and follow up on those monies and that member of parliament, Mr. Speaker. But we cannot be blanketly be condemned to be corrupt, that NG-CDF is our money, Mr. Speaker, when that is not the point, Mr. Speaker. We can also not be a house of lamentation. We are the ones who make the laws in this house, Mr. Speaker. We will not wait for NADCO report to entrench NG-CDF in the Constitution. We should extract NG-CDF from NADCO reports so that we bring it to this House as a standalone issue to be entrenched in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Because we might wait for NADCO reports until God knows the 2 years are over, the 13th Parliament should be remembered as the House that entrenched NG-CDF in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, so that this cannot be a ping-pong game depending on who is on the bench, Mr. Speaker. The second issue, the hate that Honorable Junet has talked about is true. People just generally hate members of Parliament. And so I wouldn't even be surprised after it has been entrenched in the Constitution, the judiciary saying it is unconstitutionally inside the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, because of just the hate people have towards members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. To conclude, I want to say this, now that I'm on the floor, Mr. Speaker, to remind the executive, Mr. Speaker, that there is one cabinet secretary position which has not been filled in this country, Mr. Speaker. We are
KJ.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it is to say that the courts...
Order, KJ. Yes, give her 1 minute.
Please allow me to say this, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. 1 minute. There is a position of a cabinet secretary that has not been filled in this country, and I want to remind the executive, just in case they have forgotten, we do not have the cabinet secretary of gender and affirmative action, Mr. Speaker, in this House, Madam Speaker, sorry. If it was another ministry, I want to assure you, by today, the replacement of that cabinet minister would have happened. We cannot continue business when we do not have the cabinet secretary of gender in this country, Mr. Speaker. It should be, the cabinet secretary should be appointed like yesterday, Madam Speaker. Even if it is a man, we need a cabinet secretary of gender in this country.
Thank you. What's your point of order, Honorable Donya?
Madam Speaker, I'm just worried Honorable Junet is insisting that it is a man. We have not refused if it is a man, a boy, girl. What we want is to have a minister for gender in office. We keep on talking about gender mainstreaming, helping our young girls and women. How can we, Madam Speaker, yes, we know it is CDF, but
Thank you. Honorable KJ, you may proceed. You are on the floor.
Madam Speaker, I thank you and I acknowledge the change of guard. Madam Speaker, the courts had their day. Today it is Parliament that has its day to remind the courts that even the courts can err, that they can make mistake, Mr. Speaker. When you read that judgment, Madam Speaker, you notice a fundamental fault in how they were deciding on this matter. One of the bigger issues, Madam Speaker, they were saying that the constituency cannot be a unit of devolution. But Madam Speaker, we all know that NG-CDF is not a devolved fund. In fact, the word that she should be using is that national government has decentralized the monies from the center to the 290 constituency, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. And it is also to disabuse the notion, Madam Speaker, that anyone can imagine that by removing NG-CDF, they're punishing a member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, in the Goretti South constituency, the NG-CDF is not to benefit John Carrier. The NG-CDF has renovated all primary schools in the constituency. It has built in excess of 7 new schools. Out of the 12 new schools in Nairobi, 7 of them are in the Goretti South constituency. Madam Speaker, it has improved the working status of the officers in Gao, made sure that our people are served in dignified places. So, Madam Speaker, I would want to agree with all the members who are saying that Article 95 and 96 allows this House to make laws, Madam Speaker, and no other entity can make laws. And if that be the case, then we, as the 13th Parliament, must agree that we are the people who are going to entrench this NG-CDF in the Constitution so that it can continue bettering the life of members. Finally, Madam Speaker, we all agree that even if we have devolved units called counties, the devolved units called counties has served more as devolution for corruption rather than devolving services to the people. Madam Speaker, Nairobi City County receives in excess of 30 billion Kenya shillings from division of revenue and monies that they raise as own revenue. That means that in the Dagoretti South constituency every year, I should be feeling the impact of around 2 billion Kenya shillings coming from Nairobi City County coffers, Madam Speaker. But if you go to the constituency called the Dagoretti South constituency, what you shall find are the projects that have been put up by this most visible, best managed, and most effective fund called the NG-CDF. So, Madam Speaker, let's do what is necessary. Let us entrench NG-CDF in the Constitution to make.
Honorable members, allow me to recognize the presence of Kiwanzani Academy from Kitui West constituency, Kitui County, who are seated in the public gallery. On behalf of the members of the National Assembly, we welcome you to Bunge. Thank you. The Honorable Amolo Otiende.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first, let me recognize and thank the team of lawyers that did this matter pro bono. Honorable Chepkonga, Honorable Mrugara, Honorable Kaluma, Honorable Mutuse, Honorable Muriu, Honorable Makali, Honorable Soro, Honorable Mogaka, and myself. Madam Speaker, we have no doubt as a team that the decision rendered by the High Court is wrong on so many fronts. It is wrong on the role of the MPs in CDF. It is wrong on the role and term of the fund account managers who are not in any way connected to the MPs. It is wrong on following the obiter dicta by the Supreme Court when the Supreme Court rendered an opinion on an act that had since been repealed and therefore is not binding. And for the avoidance of doubt, Madam Speaker, we have already agreed that we will appeal that decision. The good thing is that after declaring the act unconstitutional, the court did a suspension of the declaration of invalidity for 2 years. That is enough time for us to prosecute a number of things. It is enough time for us to prosecute the appeal. You will remember, Madam Speaker, that previously the High Court declared the previous act unconstitutional. The Court of Appeal did not agree and affirmed it, and only the High Court then agreed with the only the Supreme Court then agreed with the High Court. It is quite possible that we might follow a similar trajectory on this matter. Madam Speaker, secondly, and this we have said before, the ultimate solution to all this push and pull is amendment of the Constitution. And that amendment, Madam Speaker, we have already agreed, even in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, that we want to make it a standalone amendment away from the entire NADCO report. It is our view as the lawyers and at the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee that we can execute that amendment without requiring a referendum. Madam Speaker, the beauty is that once we have entrenched the NG-CDF, then the constitutional provision cannot be unconstitutional. It will be along the lines of having entrenched the judiciary fund, and that then should be a proper cushion. But once we do the amendment, we will then again have to redo the act itself by bringing a new act, which will be in line with the amendment. Madam Speaker, a lot of people do not understand, and if you allow me just one more minute, Madam Speaker, that before CDF and before devolution, before decentralization, the situation was very, very bad. You had a situation where there were parts of this country that would not even get 1 cent. It is only the CDF that goes to all the 290 constituencies in this country. It is only through devolution that... Just as I'm finishing, Madam Speaker, we must also pass a message to, as I'm closing, Madam Speaker, the real drivers of these cases is not even the two people who went to court. It is the governors, it is the Senate, and there's some particular NGO called the Institute for Social Accountability that has kept bringing these cases on instigation of these others. We must tell them that even if these funds went away, they will not go to the governors, they will not go to those who think that they will get it, not even the Senate. It will re-centralize and you will not see that money. And with that, Madam Speaker, let us also demand that the balance of monies that should have been given in the last financial year, about 50 million that is owed to each constituency, be now released so that we can do the projects that ought to have been done. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Wakili Robert Edwin Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to ventilate on this very wrong judgment which has been passed against NG-CDF. Madam Speaker, I was part of the legal team which represented Parliament on this matter. We were able to ventilate on a number of issues, and to our surprise, Madam Speaker, out of 9 key issues, none of them the court was able to appreciate, despite the fact that we were able to put in the proper legal position, the constitutional position, but the court came in as a biased court. Madam Speaker, my worry and concern, because you know, in any trial, you are able to get the things which are not being said, but the petitioners, whose name has been alluded in this house, the Council of Governors, our Senate, they have one key issue, which I would say is a sibling jealousy. In this sense, Madam Speaker, a council could stand before the judges and say, look, now you are members of Parliament, this money you'll be using as pocket money to campaign for it. It tells you the kind of conversations that are being said behind our back. Madam Speaker, I think it's important that we put it very clearly that NG-CDF is a fund under the national government, and the national government can be able to spend that money as provided by the Constitution. Second, Madam Speaker, I noted one of the key drivers of NCDF and success level is because 90% of the fund goes to development, things and tangible things which benefit the common person. In the opposite, the County of Governors, they know very well, they spend 90% of their money doing trips and doing other mundane things which has no benefit to our people. Madam Speaker, I'm trying to urge the members of Parliament, let us not lament like people who have no hope. This Parliament has power to ensure that we're able to cure this issue or these myriad issues of litigation against NG-CDF once and for all. Though, Madam Speaker, we are going to the Court of Appeal. We have a strong case. We know we can be able to win it. But the ultimate goal is to ensure we have entrenched the fund in the Constitution in such a way that in the future, nobody can come back and claim that the fund is unconstitutional.
Let me give the Honorable Millie Odhiambo, then I'll come to you, Honorable Osoro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I just want to inform Senior Counsel Honorable Tiende Amolo that part of the reason they're having problems is the entire legal team was men. There's no women, and yet there are brilliant women lawyers like me in this house. Next time, put us there, and we'll help you. Secondly, Madam Speaker, in areas that have been predominantly opposition, the only fund you can rely on that is changing lives is CDF. Third, Madam Speaker, in my own constituency, I have seen us move from mud walled, grass thatched schools to permanent schools. I would want to encourage the judges and people who live in cities to do an immersion in the village so that they know the reality. A lot of people do not know the reality on the ground. The people who are posh in cities, the lawyers and the ones who are lofty, go to the ground and learn the reality. Madam Speaker, I would also want to say that in relation to the law, our judges, especially Supreme Court, have been very liberal and progressive in interpretation of the Constitution. That is why they even interpreted the Constitution to include gay rights. But when it comes to development, then they start telling you, Montesquieu, separation of powers. I have no problem with separation of powers as espoused by Montesquieu many years back. But Montesquieu does not come from my village, Kolo, in Rusinga Island. He does not know what people go through. That is a very good concept, but something good is finally coming out of Africa, which is the issue of NG-CDF. Development. And Madam Speaker, I was just discussing with Honorable Tiende Amolo that we must be brave as lawyers. And if there is one legacy we must leave in this House, is to entrench the fourth role of a member of Parliament in this country, which is development. If it does not come through NG-CDF, it will come through my pocket. That is the reality. And the members that came before us were overwhelmed. That is why they promoted this. Right now, the role of MPs has totally been removed. But MPs are still being harassed. Put it and make MPs have a role. I have no excuse. Anybody can bash me what they want. But as an intellectual and as a bright lawyer, this is one thing I am willing to defend to my grave. Bora usiguze NG-CDF. Wengine wanasema bora usiguze mulima, mimi bora usiguze NG-CDF. Hapo tutapigana.
The Honourable Member for South Mugirango, Honourable Sylvanus Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I also want to associate myself with the sentiments that have been made by my colleagues. And I also do not want to delve so much on the judgment that was delivered last week, because I've actually gone through it. In all aspects, I'm actually against it by all standards, because it actually does not meet jurisprudential, authority in all aspects. I mean, the learned judges, Honourable Speaker, only focused on what we call the school of thought in jurisprudence that we call positivism, where they are so keen on unnecessary positivism and they ignore the element in a very social matter, ignore the socialism jurisprudence, ignore the natural law in all aspects, Honourable Speaker. But I do not want to go that direction, Honourable Speaker. But of importance, Honourable Speaker, for me, it is the character of the Council of Governors. Honourable Speaker, NG-CDF is 2.5% of the national budget. Each constituency gets about 130 million thereabout when you do tabulation. County governments get a minimum of 15%. In fact, this house gave them in the last financial year 25% last financial year, about 25 or 26% thereabout. In the last financial year, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, when you do tabulation, you'll realize that in the 2.5% that we get, or the constituencies get in terms of the NG-CDF, each constituency gets about 120 million at the highest, or 140 million shillings. Honourable Speaker, with the allocated amounts in the counties, some counties that get about 11 billion in the shared revenue, place in their budget 500 million for the office of the governor's expense. 500 million. But NG-CDF for the consumption of the common mwananchi, only 100 million. With 11 billion in some counties, and even some of them getting up to 15 billion, you will actually need a microscope, and I've said this several times, to see what governors do. But they were the first people to go in court, Honourable Speaker. They applied to be interested parties in this matter. They even wrote a letter to the Chief Justice. And in now very common character and demeanor of the current court, Honourable Speaker, they've applied what we call judicial activism,
populous rulings, populous judgments, where they now get their jurisprudence from Facebook, from social media, from messages they get, and sometimes from some political leaders who are against very important concepts.
Order number 15, the Energy Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 42 of 2023, second reading, division.
Order, Majority Leader. Honorable Senators, I'll proceed to put the question that the Energy Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 42 of 2023, be now read a second time. You may proceed to vote. May the following senators proceed to dispatch. Senator Nyutu, Senator Morango. Order, honorable senators. The result of the vote is as follows. Ayes at 30, nays 0, abstention at 0. So the ayes have it.
The Energy Amendment Bill 2023, a bill for an act of parliament to amend the Energy Act and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 16, the National Disaster Management Bill, National Assembly Bills number 24 of 2023, second reading, division.
Honorable senators, I'll proceed to put the question that the National Disaster Risk Management Bill, National Assembly Bills number 24 of 2023, be now read a second time. You may proceed to vote. May the following honorable senators proceed to dispatch to get assistance on how to cast their votes. Senator Fernandi, Senator Chiranke, Senator Eddie Okech, and Senator Newt. Senator Newt, proceed to dispatch and cast your vote. Senator Fernandi. Senator for Nandi. Take your seat, please. The result of the vote is as follows. Ayes at 30, nays at 0, abstention at 0. So the ayes have it.
The National Disaster Risk Management Bill 2023, a bill for an act of parliament to establish the National Disaster Risk Management Authority and county disaster risk management committees to provide a legal framework for the coordination of disaster risk management activities and for connected purposes.
Sergeant at Arms, you may now open the doors and withdraw the bar. Next order. Now, honorable senators, we had deferred comments on the statements. So we'll conclude that before we go to order number 17. Senator Wafula, you had the floor.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, nashukuru. Nilikuwa nachangia hoja kwamba kuna miradi mingi ya maendeleo katika kaunti zetu, miradi ambayo kaunti imekwama. Kwa mfano, kuna kaunti ambazo miradi na mijengo imekwama kwa muda wa takriban karibu miaka 10. Kaunti zingine miradi miaka 6, miaka 3, na hatuoni sababu inayoshinikiza miradi hii kutokamilika. Na tukipiga kurunzi, Mheshimiwa Spika, tunapata kwamba ni miradi ambayo huwapa kipato wanakandarasi ama baadhi ya maafisa katika kaunti husika, na hivi kuhakikisha kwamba Wakenya na kaunti wanakamuliwa pasipo wao kujua. Sasa naunga Mheshimiwa Kavindu mkono kwamba magavana na serikali za kaunti ziweze kujukumika wanapoanzisha miradi ya maendeleo, ikamilike katika awamu zao za uongozi, ili kwamba wale ambao wanachukua tamu za uongozi baadaye hawalipi madeni na kushughulika na madeni ambayo hawakuhusika kuidhinisha na kuanzisha miradi hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, vile vile ni jambo ambalo linadhihirika kwamba miradi hii hupitishwa pasipo matarajio ya baadhi ya viongozi katika kaunti. Wanangoja palipo awamu ya mwisho ya makataa ya bajeti ama siku za kifedha, ndipo miradi hii kwa haraka hupitishwa katika awamu ya kimombo nasema supplementary budget. Sasa mimi naomba jumba la Senate liweze kumakinika na kuhakikisha kwamba mambo kama haya yanasitishwa na hatua madhubuti kuchukuliwa. Jambo la pili, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kuunga Mheshimiwa mwenyekiti wa kamati ya ukulima kwamba tutasitisha vikao vyetu ili kuhakikisha fedha ambazo kamati zinapewa ni fedha za kutosha kuhakikisha kwamba kamati ya ukulima inaenda nyanjani kushughulika na zaraa ama ukulima ambao umegatuliwa kirasmi katika nchi ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuwezi kuwa tunakaa Nairobi kupiga gumzo, kuboronga Kiingereza, kutunga sheria hapa Nairobi ili hali hatuendi mashinani, wakulima wa mashinani wahusishwe katika sheria ambazo tunashughulikia. Mheshimiwa Spika, juzi tulikuwa katika hatua za kufanya majadiliano ya mswada kule Mombasa, na tukakatisha safari yetu kwa sababu tuliambiwa mkoba wa kifedha wa jumba la Senate umeisha na kuna hela ndani. Tukafunganya virago, tukarudi Nairobi, mioyo ikisononeka. Ilipaswa vile vile tuendelee na mikutano mingi. Sasa mimi naomba Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa niaba ya wale ambao huenda wanaumia na wameshindwa kuzungumza, Mheshimiwa Spika, kusema kwamba kamati za bunge zipewe fedha za kutosha. Na tukiangalia miaka na seneti miaka iliyopita walikuwa wanapewa fedha za kutosha za kufanya kazi. Sasa mimi naomba turudi katika kumbukumbu za kifedha, tuone iwapo miaka 10 iliyopita kamati ilikuwa inapewa milioni 20, milioni 15, iwaje sasa ambapo tumepiga hatua nyingi za gatuzi tunaanza kukohoa na kukatiwa hewa ya kifedha. Mheshimiwa Spika, sasa hili ni jambo ambalo viongozi katika jumba hili, viongozi katika kamati na jumba la Senate, mumakinike, mujinyanyue na mututetee, kwa sababu tumewapa nafasi. Hatutaraji sisi wenyewe tuje hapa tuanze kuzusha, tuanze kudai kana kwamba sisi sio jumba la Senate ambalo hugawia makaunti fedha za ugatuzi za kufanya maendeleo. Na mwisho, Mheshimiwa Spika, juzi tulipitisha bilioni 400 kwenda katika kaunti. Iwaje sisi wenyewe tunashindwa kutekeleza majukumu yetu kwa sababu hatuna hela? Ni kinaya. Nataka tu nielezwe kama kuna hela ama hakuna hela. Huenda nasema kuna hela na ziko hewani mahali na sijaziona. So Mheshimiwa Spika, nashukuru kwa nafasi hii na kutaraji kwamba miradi ambayo haijakamilika ikamilike, na yale ambayo inatapaswa kuanza ianzwe na imalizwe katika awamu za magavana walioko sasa. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
And honorable senators, the time that was allocated was 15 minutes for statement comments on the statements. And fortunately, Senator Okoli has used almost 6 minutes. So let us get now Senator Ososi Godfrey. Within 2 minutes, you can make just one comment on the statements.
Chair, I want to make a comment on the statement by the Chair of Standing Committee on Education on the matter of the current study they are doing on ECD, so that, Mr. Speaker, they come up with a uniform scheme of service for ECD. Mr. Speaker, this would be one of the greatest achievements of this Senate if this matter was prioritized, because we have a crisis in the management of ECDs in our counties. And it is a high time that the Committee for Education finalized this report and brought it to this House so that we can pass it and have it implemented in our counties. Mr. Speaker, very soon my committee of CPIC is going to present a report on their findings after they have reviewed the bursary funds in counties. Mr. Speaker, the bursary fund in our counties, we have found out that these funds have been misused and mismanaged, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is illegal for our counties to continue appropriating money into these bursary funds or the so-called governor scholarship funds when that function is not a devolved function. It's a national government function, Mr. Speaker. And they are putting money in these funds, at the same time starving the ECDs and the vocational training centers of the funds that are required to run them efficiently. Mr. Speaker, one of the most fundamental things that this House has to do is to abolish all the bursary funds that we have in our counties. Let people get bursaries from the national government, CDF, or from Ministry of Education. Let the counties focus on devolved function. That is the ECDs.
Just a minute, Senator. So what is your point of order, Senator? Do you want to be informed?
He can inform me because he's a member of my committee and we have been dealing with the bursary funds, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to inform the chair of CPIC and the deputy party leader of ODM, Senator Osotsi, on the beat around the proper scheme of service for teachers at the ECD level. The bill you have just passed at the second reading, the bill on ECD, comprehensively seeks to address this particular issue. And I wanted to inform him that I know he has voted for the bill, but maybe he hasn't read that bill And the reason why I'm informing him is because he's one of the most important senators of this House in terms of coming up with serious amendments. So that in the third reading of that bill, perhaps he can propose amendments, but that bill has just passed the third reading, in the second reading that we'll just add right now in the division. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Eddy.
Conclude, Senator Ososi.
Yes, thank you, Senator Eddy. You know, the scheme of service is one thing, but there are other challenges that face ECD management in our counties, including even provision of appropriate environment for learning. For example, classrooms, sanitary areas, they are not there in most of our ECDs. So it is a comprehensive matter, and that capacity issues around the ECDs are largely caused by low financing or funding of these ECT programs in our counties. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying it will be important for us to review the way the counties spend their money on education. It is illegal, and this has been going on for some time, Mr. Speaker, where counties put money in bursaries so that they can easily steal, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think this House has to rise to the occasion and abolish the bursary funds that we have in our counties. And soon, Mr. Speaker, after completion of a report, we'll be bringing a report in this House that demonstrates how bursary funds and the governor's scholarship funds, or some counties have even invested in school infrastructure, building.
Senator Chalge Samson.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I just wanted to react to the statement made by the chairperson of Agriculture. One, it is disappointing that the issue of capacity and ability of committees is dysfunctional. Mr. Speaker, as the chair of Liaison Committee, I expect you to intervene on this matter. And Senator Faki had requested for Kamkunji. I hope we can be able to discuss this matter. Secondly and finally, Chair, I needed an update from the Chair of Agriculture, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of bonus. You remember where I come from, Nandi County, Vihiga, Kakamega, Nyamira, Kisii, Bomet, and Kericho, our tea bonuses were very low. We were receiving 17 to 25 shillings. But on this other side of the country, Mr. Speaker, sir, they were receiving up to 61 shillings bonuses, Mr. Speaker. And that is why I expected even up to Bungoma. Mr. Speaker, that's why I expected on the issue of tea bonus. I saw even in your area today, I saw your people demonstrating, yet they are getting even more better, up to 57 to 60 shillings. As in Nandi, we are getting only 15 shillings, 17 shillings to 25 shillings, Mr. Speaker. So this issue on tea bonuses of our farmers, especially from the Rift Valley, Mr. Speaker, and part of Nyanza, and part of Western Kenya, Mr. Speaker, we are suffering, Mr. Speaker. We need this issue of tea bonuses to be told. Because you cannot tell us that the tea that comes, Mr. Speaker, from another part of Kenya fetches more bonuses over that come from Rift Valley, Mr. Speaker. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to the Agriculture Committee to tell the country what really is happening about the bonuses that we have in this country, Mr. Speaker. So that our...
Senator Chalege, in just a minute. You know the statement by the Agriculture Committee was on the business that have been on the committee for the last session to date. Maybe that business is not before the committee on the team bonuses. So maybe if there is a statement you have sought, you will be able to respond to that matter when the time comes. But he could not respond to something that has not been finalized by the committee.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I have seen in the statement he has talked about the Kenya Tea Development Agency, the issue of tea matters are in his statement that were presented today. So, Mr. Speaker, but also our committees should be judicially noticed of what is happening, Mr. Speaker. I thought that has been the thumb rule of committees. But I know the Chair of Agriculture, we have expectations a lot from him, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
We're almost concluding now, Senator Kaluda Bed Sengo. on statements. I think that should be the end of that session.
Thank you. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Nasimama kuunga mkono hoja iliyowasilishwa na Senator wa Machakos, Senator Agnes Kavindu, kuhusu miradi ambayo imesimama katika county zetu. Na kwa hakika niseme kwa miradi mingi ambayo imesimama na imeacha kumaliziwa, imekosa kumaliziwa, imekosa kutimiza kazi ambayo ilianzishwa kufanya, ni kwa sababu ya viongozi ambao walikuwa awali, kama ni governor akipata mradi ambao ilianzishwa na predecessor wake ama governor aliyekuweko mbele, ama kama ni mbunge ama mwakilishi wa wodi, wanaacha hizo miradi kwa sababu za kisiasa. Anaona akimalizia hiyo miradi atakayepata sifa na ni yule aliyetangulia kuanzisha huo mradi, ambao ni makosa. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo la pili ni kusema kwamba pesa ya umma inatumika kuanzisha hii miradi, na hiyo miradi isipomaliziwa, kamilika ndio ifaidi wananchi, pesa ya umma inapotea na imekuwa wasted, na ambao ni makosa sana. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa pesa ya umma kupotea na kukosa kufaidi wenye nchi. Niseme Bwana Spika, maendeleo ambayo inakusudiwa kuletwa na pesa ya umma, miradi ikianzishwa katika counties zetu na inakosa kukamilika na inakosa kutumika, basi inakuwa maendeleo inasimama. Na tunajua kama viongozi katika jumba la Seneti, sisi utetea ukamilifu na kufanya kazi kwa devolution. Kwa hivyo isipofanyika, basi inakuwa kwamba sisi kazi yetu haijahalalishwa kikamilifu, na basi wananchi wa Kenya wanapoteza pesa zao, maendeleo inakosa kupatikana mashinani, na wananchi wanahangaika ili hali walipiga kura, wanalipa ushuru, na pesa zao ambazo wanatumia kwa kulipa ushuru zinapaswa kutumika kuleta maendeleo kwa wananchi, na basi maendeleo inakosa na inakuwa ni kupoteza pesa za wananchi ambayo haistahili. Mheshimiwa Spika, nitachangia kidogo kuhusu ripoti iliyoletwa na mwenyekiti wa ukulima. Mimi ni mwanakamati wa kamati ya ukulima, na ni vibaya Mheshimiwa Spika kwamba mgao wa fedha ambao unapaswa kwenda kwa kamati, basi kwa kamati ya ukulima inapaswa.
Can we now go to the next order?
Order number 17, the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 38 of 2024, second reading, resumption of debate.
I'm informed that Senator Boni Karware and a balance of 13 minutes on this motion. Do you intend to proceed executing?
Mr. Speaker, I would like to proceed. I had barely started, then time was up. So I would like to use a bit of that time. And I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me. In the first 5 or so minutes when I spoke, I was able to go into the work we did as a committee, and I want to use this opportunity to request colleagues, members of this Senate, for support of our report on the fact that we do not remove even 1 shilling from the revenue that this House passed. That the 400.16 billion shillings in its entirety should go to our counties. Mr. Speaker, as I say this, I know counties are faced with serious problems of pending bills. Talking about Kakamega, talking about Nairobi, the pressure is too much. So I want to urge governors, as soon as they get this money, even if some of them do not respect us, we've done our bit. Let them make sure that the economies in our counties remain vibrant through settlement of pending bills. And Mr. Speaker, saying this, it reminds me, according to the report of the Controller of Budget, my county of Kakamega had a whooping 1.47 billion shillings in pending bills. And it took me a lot of interest, a lot of hard work to push the governor to start paying these bills. I want to thank this same committee, without which Governor Barasa had refused to pay the people who gave credit to our county, and now he has been able to pay 751,800,000. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the governor for paying this 771.8 million shillings to our creditors. And I want to assure the remaining creditors who have not received their money due in pending bills worth 718.2 million shillings to rest assured and know that for as long as God allows me to be the senator of Kakamega, before the end of this financial year, Governor Barasa will have to pay this balance. And I want to congratulate them. When we were doing our oversight conference at the Golf Hotel, the information they gave us was very useful, and we are using that information. They'll be paid. And for Governor Barasa, we have summoned you to come to the Senate to demonstrate why you cannot pay this balance, because you have no reason. We've given you the money as the Senator of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, it is important that before I end the contribution on this very important bill, we must speak to some of the bad manners by our governors. Some of our governors have got serious bad manners. We must call them out. Mr. Speaker, right now, I've just been watching some news on social media. I hope it is true. And it shows unrest in the county of Nandi. Mr. Speaker, it shows unrest in the county of Kericho.
For Nandi wants to inform you, I don't know on what matters.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I'm concerned about the unrest in Nandi, and they're my neighbors.
So do you wish to be informed by the
Yes,
Senator
on behalf of the lawyers of Jesumei who live and vote in Nandi, I would love to be informed.
Proceedings and the
Mr. Speaker, I want to inform my good neighbor Omwami, the bullfighter, and we talk. Nandi County Assembly is under siege because the people of Nandi are moving the MCAs to commence impeachment proceedings against the inept governor, Sang, and remove him from office. And I want to assure there have also been some blows, exchange of blows by members of County Assembly. And Mr. Speaker, this is, we must ensure devolution works by fire, Mr. Speaker. And I want to confirm that this House should be ready for impeachment against the governor of Nandi, Governor Sang, in the next few weeks. Because from the intelligence I have, Mr. Speaker.
What is the information that you wanted to pass?
I wanted to confirm to him that it is true that there is unrest in Nandi, because people are tired of bad governance and corruption that is being perpetuated by the governor of Nandi Sang. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful because I was worried that somebody would shoot up and challenge me for quoting social media. Of course, social media cannot stand in this house. So the confirmation from the distinguished senator of Nandi that there is unrest in Nandi must be taken seriously. And even more so by Senator Boni Khalwale and Senator Osotsi, because our cousins come from that county. Mr. Speaker, it's amazing that one of the voters in Nandi gave me a payslip, a copy of a payslip, and showed that a relative, a very close relative of the governor, is drawing a salary of 145,000 shillings per month, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a governor's relative, who I don't mind, our relatives can work in our offices. They're entitled to jobs in counties. But when those relatives are over 60 years old, then it calls into question why they could be drawing a salary for not earning that money, because they're not in employment. They're ghost workers, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to call out our governors on bad manners of the cost of foreign travel. The bill of foreign travel in this country by governors is amazing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the most traveled governors, the governor of Nairobi, governor of Kakamega, shame on you. And the governor of Nandi. What are they doing? Mr. Speaker, imagine the governor of Kakamega spend 418 million shillings, 640,000 to fly around. Sang spent 310 million shillings, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, even if their friends are in here and they are comfortable about this truth, we will call them out. Mr. Speaker, sir, the bad manners of refusing to digitalize, Mr. Speaker, revenue collection is because governors want manual collection so that at the end of the day, they sit in the office with the finance people to share the daily connections like bank robbers. Mr. Speaker, can you imagine that a great young woman like Gladys Wanga, she comes from a very small county with limited opportunities of how to raise her own source revenue. And Gladys Wanga is leading from the front. She's doing a good job. I hear she's now the chair of the Orange Democratic Movement. That is extremely attractive. I think your party is starting to look good. Very good indeed. If the chair can lead in realization of on-source revenue, ODM is doing very well. Mr. Speaker, Gladys Wanga raised 1.2 billion shillings from a rural constituency, a rural county. Madam Speaker, I also want to congratulate the governor of Narok. He raised 4.75 billion shillings. Narok here, the matter is when you see them in the white shukas, they are able to contribute their own source revenue worth 4.75 billion shillings. Mr. Speaker, the governor of Nairobi, he does a few bad things, but then surprises me with very good things. Like on own source revenue, he has done well. He has raised 12 billion shillings. Mr. Speaker, I cannot fail to congratulate the governor of Bungoma on on-source revenue. Governor Lusaka found when Wangamati was collecting a mere 400 million shillings. But the man who sat where you are, who learned good manners of respecting public money from this house, Lusaka, has done wonders. From 400, Lusaka has raised 1.12 billion shillings in Bungoma. And he's a living shame to what is happening in Kakamega. Oh, Kakamega. Oh, Kakamega is the second biggest county in this country. it has got some of the best resource raising points, Mr. Speaker, including the economy of Buteri Sugar Company, 10 billion shillings economy. It pays taxes, including cess. Mr. Speaker, West Kenya Sugar Company, a company with an economy of 15 billion shillings per year. And Mumias Sugar Company with an economy of 24 billion shillings. This is before you mentioned the other avenues of on-source revenue collection. The governor of Kakamega found Onyo Paranya was doing very well. The collection of revenue has tipped. Right now, he's trailing, according to the report of the Controller of Budget, and I invite colleagues to read it. Kakamega County, Bomet County, Busia County, Mandera County, and Migori County are the bad boys on abuse of on-source revenue. Governor Barasa, you cannot be collecting money from our women at Khayaga, our borders, from Malaba, from Butere, from Mumias, from Malinya, from Shinyalu, from Lumakanda, and Likuyani, and you'll be abusing that money. We want that money to be banked. Mr. Speaker, I want to end by speaking again to the bad manners of governors, something called extravagance. And I hear some people are harassing the Controller of Budget because they think she's exposing them too much. National Assembly, please give the Controller of Budget more money. She's doing a good job. She's calling out these people so that Senate can be able to deal with them. She has found that the top, Mr. Speaker, abusers of expenditure include the following counties: Kakamega County, Nakuru County, Bungoma County, Tana River County, Kitui County, Mombasa County, Machakos County, Kwale County, and Nyeri County. She's saying that the ones who are abusing the revenues in their counties through collection. Now that she has brought this report, colleagues, I'm starting to wonder, could it be true what I was seeing in the media from the Machakos local media, that their governor was having problems in London last week? Mr. Speaker, this could be the reason. She's been flagged out here. And Mr. Speaker, Machakos has splashed 100.
Senator Boni Karwale, just use the statistics from the Controller of Budget.
They're the ones here.
From the media and the social media, just forget it.
This is
yes,
Controller of Budget. I've taken a photograph.
Stories that you now stick to the Controller of Budget.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
You are doing so well.
According to the Controller of Budget, Machakos, they've just splashed 193.85 million shillings on having fun, and the Controller of Budget cannot understand why they are wasting this money. Mr. Speaker, the worst, number one abuser, according to the Controller of Budget, is they call it FCAP or FCPA, Fernandez Barasa, has spent 521 million shillings, $500 million shillings, on buying mandasis and lunch and water and sodas in the office, Mr. Speaker. It is not possible to spend $500
Give him that a second. To pronounce yourself on your position.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I want to oppose any attempt to reduce the money that this House allocated to counties, 400.16 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Next is Senator Sifuna Edwin.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to oppose the proposal to review the division of revenue to reduce the amount of money that this House allocated to county governments from the 400 billion shillings that we passed to 380 billion. Honorable Speaker, I was listening to my brother Khalwale praising his governor for paying pending bills of 771 million shillings. I was wondering if he had not seen that report, but he has mentioned it, that Kakamega County spent 521 million Kenya shillings on buying tea and mandazi for Fernandez Baraza and his friends. Honorable Speaker, these are the governors who create justification for why government proposes such bills. This bad behavior that Senator Khalwale is referring is not widespread across the country. There are county governments that are really doing their best to serve and deliver to their people. But it is governors like Khalwale's governor, Governor Fernandez Baraza, spending 500 million shillings on tea and mandazi. These are the people who make it very difficult for us to push further resources to go to the counties. Honorable Chair, I also had another governor who is, I would call him my mother's governor, the governor for Bungoma. He went after the senator for Bungoma, insulting this entire Senate, Honorable Speaker, that we have no role in making sure that governors or county governments get the money that they deserve. Yet it is us here today who have to stand up and defend devolution and say not a shilling less from the 400 billion shillings that we passed here in this House. Where is Governor for Bungoma now? Where is he now? Does he not depend on the Senator for Bungoma to be able to make these arguments? So some of these governors make our lives very difficult, but it's not all of them. Many of them, I remember when this matter was before the committee, I have never seen such a high attendance of governors before this House. I think all of them were here because it was a question discussing the revenue that is going to counties. They make it very difficult for this Senate to make these arguments. We make these arguments, Honorable Speaker, not because we like our governors, but because we swore to defend devolution. Because I understand that the money that I pass in this House does not go to Sakaja as an individual. It goes to the people of Nairobi and the programs of the people of Nairobi. Honorable Speaker, the reason that I oppose this is fourfold. Number one, if you look at Section 2 of this bill, it talks about the purpose of the bill being to amend the Division of Revenue Act of 2024 so that you can have what the bill very strangely calls, Honorable Speaker, equitable sharing of the shortfall in revenue. Now, this is something that I have never heard of before, because in my reading of Article 202, Honorable Speaker, the only thing that is subject to equitable sharing is revenue, national revenue that has been raised. There is no mention anywhere in the Constitution of sharing of shortfalls. That does not exist in the Constitution, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, from the onset, you can see that the object of this bill is unconstitutional. Number two, Honorable Speaker, my reading and understanding of the Constitution is that there is an annual division and allocation of revenue bill. One bill, if you look at, Honorable Speaker, the provisions of the Constitution only speaks about an annual division of revenue bill. That means, Honorable Speaker, every 12 months, Parliament is only allowed one division of revenue. There is no way you can introduce a second one. And once we have passed that bill, Honorable Speaker, it is my view that because the Constitution talks of an annual division of revenue, you cannot introduce a second one. It comes only once and it is provided for. You cannot have more than one annual division of revenue bill. And so too, Honorable Speaker, in my view and interpretation of the Constitution, the annual allocation of revenue bill. Honorable Speaker, it has been the tradition of previous divisions of revenue bill to provide that the shortfall in revenue is to be borne by the national government. Curiously, this bill proposes to amend Section 5 of the bill that we passed here earlier this year, that the shortfall be borne by both the national and county governments. Honorable Speaker, it even goes further to say that the shortfall to be borne by the national government cannot exceed 15%. Which is why, Mr. Speaker, I want to come to the third reason why I strongly oppose this bill. It is that limitation of the ceiling to which the national government can bear the shortfall that has resulted in this bill proposing an even less amount to the amount that we passed in this House for the last financial year, Honorable Speaker. What we want to agree, and this is a debate we have had here with my colleagues in the Senate, is that whatever happens any financial year, we as a Senate cannot pass a division of revenue bill that reduces the amount of money that is going to be allocated to the counties if compared to what we had passed in the previous financial year. Honorable Speaker, you know it is on record that last year, even after the Commission on Revenue Allocation had proposed that we in this Senate give counties 415 billion shillings, Honorable Speaker, we only gave 385 billion shillings for the last financial year. This bill proposes a figure of 380 billion shillings, which is 5 billion shillings less than the amount that was sent to the counties last year. Honorable Speaker, as the Democrats in the US are now saying, we are not going back. We must push this journey of devolution forward. We cannot go back to 380 because to do so, next year we will be told, these counties now we will give them 370 at some point, Honorable Speaker, because the enemies of devolution continue to gather. At some point, Honorable Halwale, if we are not careful, we will be told it's 300, then 250, then 200, then we'll be told all these functions now will be transferred back to the national government. As people sworn to defend devolution, Honorable Speaker, it is my view that as the pocket of devolution shrinks, even so the role of this Senate and the role of senators. If we expand the pocket of devolution, we as senators get a greater mandate because we are overseeing or oversighting greater resources. Honorable Speaker, lastly, the question of the disbursement schedule. Before I go to the disbursement schedule, this 400 billion shilling mark, those of you who have been in this House before me know that it is a psychological mark that has been very difficult to break. That since the advent of devolution, it is this fourth Senate that has breached that target of 400 billion shillings. Honorable Speaker, we all took pride in the fact that we were the first senators to be able to push the envelope of devolution beyond 400 billion shillings. For us to then sit again and reduce it, Honorable Speaker, it is something that I believe we cannot allow. And it is because, in my view, the law already anticipates on how to deal with shortfalls. I don't refuse that because of the matter of the Finance Act and the fact that the President had to return it, it has resulted in a shortfall in the provisions for the budget that we had this year. But Honorable Speaker, how do you justify going below even the amount that had been allocated in the previous financial year? Because we all know that with the collapse of Finance Bill 2024, or the Finance Act of 2024, the tax-raising measures we reverted to are the tax-raising measures of 2023, which supported the 385. I want to hear a justification why we would fall below the figure of 385 to 380 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, just this morning, because I'm a member of the Senate Business Committee, together with the Leader of Majority, we were discussing the cut in the Senate budgets. Honorable Speaker, we did not complain. Even Senator Khalwale did not complain when we were told that the budgets of the Senate are being cut by 20% as a result of the revenue shortfalls in the projections in the Finance Act. It is okay. It is okay, Honorable Speaker. We don't have a problem with cuts to the Senate or to Parliament as an institution. Parliament as an institution has been told we have to cut 3 billion shillings. I think the figure is slightly over 3.5 billion shillings in our budgets, and that is okay. We can make do with that. But for the people waiting for services in the grassroots, in the counties, Honorable Speaker, we cannot afford to take a step back. I will give you an example, Honorable Speaker. I was very proud as a Senator of Nairobi that for the first time, the County of Nairobi was going to receive above 20 billion shillings in its shareable revenue. We have a program in Nairobi called the School Feeding Program, Honorable Speaker, and it gobbles up almost 10% of the entire amount we receive as equitable revenue. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, although that program is expressed to cost almost 1.8 billion shillings. That program is only sufficient to serve 30% of the children of Nairobi, leaving a whooping 70% of the children of Nairobi outside that program. Now, the promise by the governor is that his plan is to expand it so that it can feed all the children of Nairobi, to expand it to the so-called up-bed schools, informal schools, which carry the majority of the school-going children in Nairobi. We need money. Honorable Speaker, we need money. In Nairobi, we need money. I know Senator Khalwale has praised my governor about the revenue-raising measures that have been put in place, but we have come nowhere close to the potential of Nairobi, as per the estimates from even the control of budget himself. So, Honorable Speaker, we need money in Nairobi. Now, the most heartbreaking thing for me when I came to this Senate is to discover that you can actually be allocated money in a budget, but receiving that money is a different story altogether. We passed something here, Honorable Speaker, called the disbursement schedule, which Treasury has never honored. What is the point, Honorable Speaker, of us passing things here that nobody ever follows? The governors there are the exchequer, money hitting the county government's account is a hit and miss game. It's just pata potea, Honorable Speaker. You can go 3 months, you can go 2 months, you can go 4 months without money, and you don't know when it will come. So it has been very disappointing for me to realize that we can put up this fight, and yet, at the end of the day, this money will not reach the grassroots in the manner in which it is proposed to reach. So, Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker, my view is that as a Senate, we should always try to fight to push the envelope for the basket of devolution. That any attempts to reduce that amount is something that is to be resisted here on the floor of the Senate. And I understand all the discussions that have been had, and Senator Khalwale has spoken about some of them, the bad manners we see from the county governors. I pray that this Senate does not take out the bad manners of governors on the public themselves, the women who sell njugu at Khaega or Mwami Senator Khalwale. They have never offended you. They have never offended the public purse. So we must find a way of dealing with some of these governors. And I'm really looking forward to these 2 governors appearing before the Senate, the ones I've mentioned here, because they are in the habit of addressing members of the Senate at funerals. And even inciting some MCAs, you hear them insulting senators from morning to evening. But when they come here, Honorable Speaker, you will think they are those mutotomisa we used to see when we were doing pastoral class. So another one came here, even he tried to run away from the committee by saying that he had forgotten his glasses at home, he couldn't see, because he didn't want to read a document that was incriminating. So, Honorable Speaker, the same vigor that we fight for these resources, we must be there as senators to protect those resources when they get to our county governments and ensure that it actually benefits the people of the counties that we represent. So, Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I want to say categorically that for me, I do not think that there is enough justification for this reduction beyond even what was allocated last year. And I would wish that every time we get opportunity to vote for monies for the counties, we are increasing and not decreasing. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Sifuna. Senator Mungatana.
Bwana Spika, napenda kuchukua nafasi hii kukupa asante kwa kunipa nafasi ya kuongea.
Just hold, resume your seat first of all. Let me allow Senator Boni Halwale to first table that report so that you can take the floor, Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my apologies on behalf of the Committee of the Senate Finance and Budget Committee. The printout of this report has been slow. It's now available. Members, I now formally rise to beg to lay this paper on the table of this Senate today, being the report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the Division of Revenue Bill, Bill number 38 of 2024. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I invite members to collect their copies before the debate.
Senator Mungatana, now you can take the floor and contribute to the motion.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa nafasi hii na mimi nitoe maoni yangu kuhusu hoja hii ya ugawaji wa fedha kati ya serikali kuu na serikali gatuzi. Bwana Spika, jambo ambalo tunalizungumzia leo ni kuhusu kupunguzwa kwa hizi seti. Sisi tulikaa hapa tukapitisha ya kwamba serikali kuu itapata mgao wake na serikali za kaunti zitapata bilioni 400.1. Sasa tunaletewa mswada mwingine wa kupunguza hizi hela za mgao wa serikali za kaunti, kwamba sasa tutoke ile bilioni 400 ishuke chini zaidi. Bwana Spika, sisi tungependa kusema kama senators, na mimi kama senator wa Tana River ningependa kusema ya kwamba tunakataa na tunapinga pendekezo la kujaribu kupunguza mgao wa serikali za kaunti. Na tunasema hii hoja ambayo imeletwa leo tunaikataa kwa sababu ya kwamba katiba imesema tuko na serikali katika viwango viwili. Kuna kiwango cha serikali kuu ipo na majukumu yake, na kuna kiwango cha serikali za kaunti nao pia wako na majukumu yao. Ni makosa sana kwamba serikali kuu wao waendelee kuishi vizuri na serikali za kaunti ziendelee kufinywa. Bwana Spika, tunasema ya kwamba tukiendelesha mafikira kama haya na tukiunga mkono mswada kama huu, ni sawasawa na kuchukua mamlaka yetu kama maseneta, mamlaka kuu ya kupigania haki za kaunti, haki za sehemu zetu gatuzi, na kuyatupa baharini. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, tunaomba katiba iheshimiwe na tunaomba serikali za kaunti ziheshimiwe. Kuna wengine wamesema eti kwa sababu kuna sehemu na serikali gatuzi zingine zinazotumia pesa vibaya, na wanajaribu kutumia fikra hiyo kupunguza pesa ambazo zinaenda kwa kaunti zetu. Mimi ningependa kujibu namna hii, niseme Bwana Spika, mambo ya utumizi mbaya wa fedha yaweke tofauti na utumizi na mgao wa pesa ambao unafaa uende kwa kaunti. Mambo ya utumizi mbaya wa pesa yako na namna ya kushughulikiwa. Kuna sheria ambayo itafuatwa, wanaohusika watakamatwa, mambo ya investigation itafanywa, na wale watakaopatikana na hatia watapelekwa mbele ya sheria. Kwa hivyo isiwekwe katikati swala hili la utumizi mbaya ama ufujaji wa pesa za county government, ziwekwe pamoja ama itumike kama sababu ya kupunguza hela ambazo zinaenda kwa upande wa ugatuzi. Na Spika, ukiangalia pesa ambao zinaenda ama ule mgao ambao unaenda kwa serikali kuu, hata huo uko na shida. Kila mtu anajua, na ripoti hapa za controller wa budget zinasema mara nyingi kwamba shida ya ufujaji wa pesa pia uko katika serikali kuu. Kwa hivyo hakuna haki ya kutumia akili hiyo ama mawazo hayo kupunguza mgao wa kaunti. Na mimi najua maseneta wote ambao tuko hapa, sote tunapigania kwamba kaunti zetu zipate mgao wao wa sawa, na tumeyazungumza haya na tumeyapitisha haya. Kwa hivyo mtu yoyote ama kamati ama sheria yote ama hoja yote ambayo itakuja nyuma kuja kusema ya kwamba vile tulipitisha na senti ambazo tushaziweka na vile tumekwisha kuwaelezea watu wetu ya kwamba kule kwa sehemu zetu gatuzi ya kwamba pesa ambayo inakuja kwa kaunti ni kiasi fulani. Tutaenda huko sasa kusema nini ikiwa kwamba tutaambiwa tena tukate? Watu husema, Bwana Spika, nikiwa namalizia, kwamba jungu kuu halikosi mkoko, na kati ya serikali za kaunti na serikali kuu, jungu kuu ni serikali kuu. Kwa hivyo kama ingekuwa kuna mahali pa kukatwa zile pesa, ingefaa hizi pesa zikatwe kwa upande wa mgao wa serikali kuu, sio mgao wa serikali za kaunti. Magavana katika Council of Governors siku zote wanalia kwamba hata ule mgao ambao tunapigania hapa tunapata hautoshi, na ni kweli ya kwamba serikali zetu za gatuzi ziko na shida, na zingine hata kulipa mishahara ya wafanyikazi wetu huko kwa kaunti, na unapata saa ingine hata mishahara mwezi mmoja, miezi mbili haijalipwa. Sasa kama hali ni hizi mpaka saa hii, wafanyi biashara ambao wamefanya na sehemu za gatuzi hawajalipwa, kama hali ni hizo, itakuwaje tena turegeshewe mswada huu tuambiwe tupunguze tena mgao ambao tulikwisha upitisha na tumekubaliana unakwenda kwa serikali zetu gatuzi? Kwa hivyo mimi, Bwana Spika, nasema kama kuna kukatwa hela sehemu yoyote kupitia kwa hii budget, kupitia kwa shida ambazo zimetokea, jungu kuu halikosi ukoko. Kwa hivyo hii serikali kuu ndio ingebeba huo msalaba, sio kupeleka msalaba huu kwa sehemu za serikali za ugatuzi ambao tayari mgao wao hautoshelezi mahitaji ambayo yako kwa hizi gatuzi 47. Kwa hivyo, Bwana Spika, mimi naomba kupinga kupunguzwa hizi hela, na ninaomba maseneta wenzangu kutoka kila sehemu ya gatuzi hizi zote 47 tupinge na tuseme kama kuna kukatwa pesa zozote, mgao ambao ungefaa ukatwe ni upande wa serikali kuu. Kwa hayo mengi, naomba kupinga mswada huo. Asante, Bwana Spika.
Asante sana Senator Mungatana. Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also make my contribution to this bill, the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill 2024. Mr. Speaker, I want to fully agree with my colleagues who have spoken before me that passing this bill in the form it is in, it is actually taking away our powers as Senate, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Article 96 of the Constitution gives us the powers to protect our counties and the governments of those counties. This particular amendment threatens Article 96 of the Constitution because it means, Mr. Speaker, that the national government will vary the equitable share within the fiscal year without making reference to Parliament and particularly the Senate. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to join my colleagues who have opposed this bill, and I want to clearly state that I am opposed to these amendments trying to reduce the shareable revenue from 400 billion to 380 billion is an issue that we should not take lightly, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know very well that when we made a decision through the Finance Committee that we want to give our counties 415 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. We made that decision. We passed the Division of Revenue when it was taken to the National Assembly, we were ready to go through mediation process, Mr. Speaker, and we accepted a lower figure of 400 billion shillings. The reasons that made us to accept a lower figure of 400 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker, are the same reasons that they are stating. The issues of shortfall in revenue, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we cannot again go below the 400 billion shillings to 385 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I say so because of the following reasons. Number one, Senator Sifuna has stated very clearly that we cannot do the process of sharing revenue twice, 3 times in a year, Mr. Speaker. We already did that. The Constitution allows us to do it once, and we did that. We cannot be brought back here to be told that we go through the same process, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the second reason is that since 2014, the financial year 2014-2015, the percentage share of the equitable share in terms of percentage compared to the ordinary revenues has been going down, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we started at 22%. Now we are at 16.8%. And this proposal will take it further down, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, will be doing injustice to our counties as senators if we agree to further lower the percentage of equitable share to the ordinary revenues that are raised nationally. Mr. Speaker, we will also be creating an unpredictable situation in our counties in terms of revenue sources in the fiscal year. And this could easily impact on the budget implementation in our counties. Mr. Speaker, we will also be creating a channel for the National Treasury to vary the equitable share without reference to the Senate. So basically, by passing this bill, we are giving away our powers, Mr. Speaker. We are saying that the senators are no longer protecting counties. The senators are no longer protecting counties and are in bed with the national government. That is what it means. So, Mr. Speaker, I am happy that senators from across the political divide so far, we are in agreement that we should not go that route. And I want to acknowledge the Finance Committee, where my good friend Tabitha Mutinda, the ever-smiling lady, is the vice chair. The committee has stood firm and they have said they will not accept 380 billion shillings. And I've looked at the report, which is here, Mr. Speaker. They have even amended the bill to say they will stick with the 400 billion shillings. Mr. Speaker, let us allow it to go that route. We are ready to go into mediation. And we will not this time around, those who will be selected to sit on the mediation committee, do not agree to go for a lower figure. We will stick with 400 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, even as we seek to give our counties more money, Mr. Speaker, we must be very clear. The money that we are giving to our counties must be accountable, must be used or utilized well, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we continue seeing a lot of issues, as has been highlighted by the senators who have spoken before me. The reports by the Auditor General, the reports by the Controller of Budget, Mr. Speaker, some of them are not giving hope to the protectors of devolution, in this case, Senate. We would like to push for more money, but at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we want to see this money changing lives. We want to see this money being utilized well. We want to see corruption in our county ending. Mr. Speaker, I would like, if I approve this money, and I know my county will get more money, we would like them to invest this money in critical areas, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is saddening that even as we are grappling with the problem of wage bill in our counties, most of the counties have gone beyond 35% threshold. They are even doing 85% to the budget. Mr. Speaker, this is unacceptable. And I have been receiving reports, Mr. Speaker. Some counties are actually engaged in what I would call employment spree. They are employing many people, even though the Auditor General has raised issues around wage bill. We want to tell governors, we want to tell the county government, please, even as we give you more money, look at the problem of wage bill. We cannot have wage bill of over 60% in our counties. Then what are we doing? We have simply converted our counties into employment bureaus. That was not the spirit of the fathers of devolution in this country. So even as we give you more money, please utilize the human resources you have to deliver for your people. Do not use that money to employ more people and add on to the problem of wage bill. Mr. Speaker, we have talked about travel costs. It is unacceptable that travel cost in our counties is skyrocketing, Mr. Speaker. When you hear that a county has spent 400, 500 million shillings on travel, local travel, Mr. Speaker, this is very annoying. It's very annoying. And this is not just traveling, Mr. Speaker. This is another source of corruption. That the money that is easily eaten is money on travel budget. We need to put safeguards, Mr. Speaker. We need to ensure that we have set targets on how much can be spent in a county on travel costs, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, critical devolved functions are almost collapsing in our counties. The ECDs, the TVETs, they are underfunded. And yet, a lot of money is being used on things that does not add value to our people, like travel. So, Mr. Speaker, even as we push for more money, we want more money to be appropriated towards critical functions like ECDs and TVETs. Matters of water provision and other services, Mr. Speaker, must also be prioritized. Mr. Speaker, I will not end this debate before I talk about the matter of disbursement of funds by the National Treasury. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is very clear that 15%, at least 15% of the money that is raised nationally should be shared with the counties. Mr. Speaker, what is happening is that the national government is getting money and not prioritizing disbursement to counties. The Constitution is very clear. You make 1 shilling, out of that 1 shilling, 15 cents should go to the counties. 85 cents should go to the national government. That is not what is happening. Why should people in the national government be paid salaries on time, but people in counties are living without salaries for months, Mr. Speaker? This is unacceptable. And I think as a Senate, and I've said this before, on this particular issue of disbursement of funds
we are failing our counties. We have every year approved disbursement schedule with the clear dates when money should go to the counties, with the clear amounts of the money that are going to counties. But what happens to Treasury? Junior officers in Treasury discard all that and determine when to send money and how much. Mr. Speaker, as we are talking now, counties only received the July disbursement yesterday. They have not received August. They have not received the September disbursement. This is unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. How do you even plan with this kind of disbursement? So, Mr. Speaker, I think this House, we have a gap somewhere. Whenever we have a delay in disbursement of funds to the counties, it is important that the CS for Treasury appears before us, and not just the committee, the whole House, to come and tell us why there is a disbursement delay, and yet the national government is functioning properly. They are paying their salaries, they are doing what? We need him to appear here. And I have a motion on this. I wonder why this motion has taken. I presented this motion last year. Up to now, Mr. Speaker, your office has not processed my motion. Mr. Speaker, I think we must be very careful not to gag legislative powers of members. That when we make proposals for motions, let them be approved. Members to accept them or reject them. I have a motion on this matter of late disbursement of funds. No one is talking to me about it. I have been asking every day, and I'm told it's in the Speaker's office. Mr. Speaker, I'm addressing your office, and I'm addressing as a deputy party leader of ODM, a party that protects devolution, that we are here to protect devolution. And we get annoyed when we see our counties are not getting money. We know there are accountability issues, but let them get the money in time. So, Mr. Speaker, when you retire from this chamber, I want to see my motion approved so that it can come here and the members can debate it, accept it or reject it. But we must cover the gaps and ensure that whenever there is a delayed disbursement of funds, the Treasury CS must appear in the committee of the whole House to tell us why that delay is there. Mr. Speaker, when I talk about on-source revenue, the current report by the Office of the Controller of Budget clearly indicates that our counties can do better. We have had counties that have been having problems with on-source revenue generation, but they have improved. That tells you that our counties can do better. Muranga County has been doing very badly in terms of revenue collection. Now, Governor Irungu Kangata has now improved that. He has gone beyond 1 billion mark of revenue collection. That tells you that something is wrong in our counties in terms of revenue collection. And if this matter of on-source revenue, Mr. Speaker, is handled, then we'll be able to cover for a lot of challenges that we face in our counties, including the inability for our counties to function because of late disbursement of funds. Mr. Speaker, I am also informing this House that one major source of on-source revenue is health centers and hospitals. And my committee of CPIC, we are now processing audited reports for these hospitals. And I'm happy that after our meeting with the Auditor General, I have seen that the Auditor General has worked very hard to table a series of audited reports for our hospitals. And I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, if we review these reports, we'll be able to identify the gaps and promote governance in our hospitals as one of the major on-source revenue. and then eventually lead to the growth of on-source revenue in our counties. Mr. Speaker, with those remarks, I want to say that I reject the bill before us, and I support the Finance Committee position that we need to amend the bill to stay with a figure of 400 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I reject, and I want to issue a party position on this matter that the ODM party is not in support of reduction of the shareable revenue to our counties from 400 billion shillings to 380 billion shillings. Mr. Speaker, I reject the amendment.
Now, Senator Osotsi, you raised something with regards to a motion that you tabled in the last session. By practice, as a ranking member, having served in the National Assembly, you know that motions lapses with the session. So if your motion was not concluded or not approved, then you've got to refile it afresh for purposes of it to be processed accordingly. Thank you very much. Senator Murango James Kamau.
Asante sana Mstahiki Spika. Kwanza nasimama kuunga mkono ripoti iliyoletwa na kamati ya fedha inayoashiria kwamba tunafaa tusipunguze pesa ambazo inaenda katika gatuzi zetu kutoka bilioni 400 mpaka bilioni 380. Mstahiki Spika, lazima tutofautishe kati ya pesa ambao tunapeleka kwa gatuzi zetu za Kenya na yale ambayo yanakuja, na ndio maana tuko na kamati mbili, moja ni ya PAC na ingine PIK, kuangalia kwamba kila county inatumia pesa zake inavyokusudiwa kufanywa. Siku ya leo tumekuwa na ripoti nyingi, nimekuwa na ripoti moja ambayo imetoka kamati ya PAC na nikasoma kuhusu Kirinyaga na venye wanatumia pesa na mahali wanafaa kurekebisha. Mstahiki Spika, kuna mambo mengi tu katika gatuzi zetu ambayo hayajafanyika. Bado utapata barabara hazijakuwa nzuri, utapata hospitali zetu bado hazina mandawa, utapata pia bado watoto wetu hawajaweza kupata basari venye wanafaa kupata, na pia ukiangalia pia hata walimu wengi sana sana wa shule za chekechea malipo yao bado ni duni katika gatuzi zingine. Na kwa hivyo kuja kusema ya kwamba kama venye bunge la kitaifa limesema kwamba tupunguze fedha zinazoenda kwa county kutoka bilioni 400 mpaka bilioni 380, hiyo itakuwa ni makosa na itakuwa ni dhuluma kwa county zetu. Mstahiki Spika, nataka niongeze niseme ya kwamba bado tunatarajia kwamba mambo yatakuwa mazuri sana upande wa kilimo, na ndiyo maana wakati tulipitisha mswada hapa na kusema kwamba tumeongezea hizo pesa mpaka bilioni 400, nilikuwa natarajia kwamba kutakuwa na mabadiliko na maongezeko sana kuja kushika mkono wakulima sana kwa sababu ya pembejeo, na kuwashikilia pia wakulima ambao ni wa maziwa na majani chai waweze kuendelea na kilimo chao. Kwa hivyo Mstahiki Spika, tukipunguza tutarudi pale na kupatia gatuzi zetu sambambu za kusema ni kwa nini hawakuweza kufanya hivyo. Katika sheria za ndora ambazo tuko nazo zinasema ya kwamba kunapokuwa na upungufu wa fedha wakati wa kukandilia pesa, serikali kuu ndio itakuwa inawajibika kujaza pengo ambazo itakuwa limeachwa wakati kumekuwa na bajeti ya ziada. Mstahiki Spika, kwa hivyo ni kusema ya kwamba itakuwa si haki kupunguza pesa ambazo zinaenda kwa county kwa kiwango hicho ambacho kilikuwa kinapendekezwa na bunge la kitaifa. Nikimalizia, Mstahiki Spika, bunge la Seneti kazi yake kubwa ni kulinda ugatuzi, na ndiyo maana tuko hapa. Na
Kulinda ugatuzi ni kuhakikisha kwamba fedha ambazo zinakusudiwa kwenda katika gatuzi zetu inaenda ipasavyo. Tushavalia njuga swala hili, tukaketi na tukapitisha. Na kwa hivyo mimi ningeomba ya kwamba pesa iende mashinani venye tulikuwa tumehashiria na venye tulikuwa tumesema. Kwa hivyo mstahiki Spika, mimi napinga kupunguzwa kwa fedha ambazo zinaenda katika gatuzi zetu, na ninaunga mkono ripoti iliyoletwa mbele yetu na kamati ya fedha ya Seneti kusema ya kwamba fedha zinaoenda katika gatuzi zetu zimbaki bilioni 400 wala sio bilioni 380. Hii pesa inapofika kwa counties, ningeuliza pia mangavana waanjibike, kwa sababu kama kuna watu wastaarabu ni maseneta. Maseneta sisi ndio tunapitishanga pesa na kutetea county pesa ambayo sisi hatuhusiki katika venye zinatumika. Na ile heshima tunaweza fanywa na gatuzi zetu ni ya kuhakikisha kwamba wanatumia pesa tunazopitisha, tunazopigania kwa njia ambayo inafaa kufikia Wanjiku. Unajua kikwetu kuna kitu nasema kwamba katika kuna yule mwenye kukamua na kuna yule mwenye utoa komba mwiko katika maziwa watoto waweze kukunywa. Kazi yetu seneta tushakamua. Wale ambao wako mashinani, mangavana na wakilishi wandi, sasa ni kutoa komba mwiko wa maziwa ili wakazi waweze kujivunia matunda ya ugatuzi na waweze kupata huduma wanaopaswa kupata katika county. Kwa hiyo mengi na machache nasema asante Speaker, naunga mkono ripoti ya kamati ya fedha.
Where are you talking? What are you trying to tell the whole class? You better not have taken my pictures when I was trying to put on those boxes. I will slaughter you.
You want us to believe you carried fresh meat in a kawago?
You can believe what you want, my friend. If only you could study with such energy.
Stop interfering. We are not interested in your necessary details. Actually, we are not even interested on whose house you're going to destroy.
Julia, you are very lucky. I don't want to spoil my nails because next time, where?
It was a wagon, his dad's wagon, the one that he drives on Thursdays.
How did you even know he drives a wagon on Thursdays? Women and poking their noses. So,
are you okay?
I'm fine.
Are you sure?
I'm sorry.
Are you sure? My love, my love. Honey, Isabel.
Have you finished talking to your dear wife? You sure can spring surprises, Anibal. But you're already married.
Danielle, what's going on here?
We're just negotiating, but it's impossible to talk sense with your brother.
Get out of here!
You see, that is why I didn't want to tell you, Dad. Just as you once trusted me, I am asking you to please do it again. I will not allow that to happen. I swear that I will not allow this sawmill to go bankrupt.
Wildlands.
Friday night again.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Thank you for joining us on Healthy Living. Stay connected to Voice of America at voanews.com. A look at your kidneys and how they impact your health. And an expert discusses chronic kidney disease and how to protect yourself. And Ivorian psychologist Noor Bakayoko shares some insights on bullying and what can be done.
It's important to avoid major events or major
health crisis.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Has anyone told you they love you today? Has anybody texted you good morning, baby? Ama uko tu hivi hivi kama sisi kujitazamia za biene mena chiki uko hapa solo nide haha wiki. What you say? Me and you can get freaky. For today, only today, I'll be your babe. I'll let you call me honey. Will you be there for me? Na ikikwam na vuka na juicy na mpenzi. Just for today, only today, I'll be your baby. Oh, juicy na babe. From up above, I think we go together. Oh, you fit just like a glove. With a heart so pure, you're like a dove. Head in first, simping all up in my feels. It was love at first sight, got me head over heels. I'ma spend all my pennies and dimes, nishing the lotto for the very first time. For today, I love you just for only today. I'll let you call me honey. Will you be there for me? Na ikipo, na vuka na yosi. Just for today, only today, I'll be your baby. Will you be mine? Oh, yeah, Justina. Oh, yeah,
sitakuacha nawe, ni penzi lako nahitaji nane, nasema sitakuacha nawe, ni penzi lako nahitaji nasema, mina love